got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your head. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That fella bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports for Friday, August 21st. We had a win on the show yesterday with the Atlanta Braves. 2-0, but they kind of dominated that game. Grant Holmes had a no-hitter, I'm pretty sure, to the 7th inning. So if you don't win that, there's something wrong with you, pretty much. Atlanta didn't really capitalize on the offense that they did have, though. I mean, they had way more base runners in the game. I think they won the hit battle 10-1, 10-2, something like that. Maybe it was 8-1, 8-2, whatever it was. Atlanta had way more hits. Probably should have won more easily. Don't listen to me on many other things, though. NFL preseason, very unpredictable. Crazy finish to the Raiders game last night, but it is preseason, so maybe Aiden O'Connell should be their starter. And the Raiders, yeah, I mean, I think their kicking battle has been decided. I didn't realize the Raiders had 2 guys competing for the job, and one is Matt Gay, who I thought was still a pretty good kicker, and some other guy who I've never heard of who's Japanese. I think that guy can't make a fucking kick, so obviously that guy's not going to make the roster. I don't know what we're doing here. He missed, I think, 2 extra points yesterday or whatever. Anyway, let's get into baseball here. I'm going to give out 2 baseball plays today. I don't love this board much at all. Let's go through it, man. We do have an afternoon game, late afternoon game, Atlanta and Milwaukee, which is ESPN Unlimited. It is an elite pitching matchup in this game, and it's a big weekend series. Maybe that's why this game is getting kind of isolated here so people can watch it. And it looks like one of those games where the under is going to make sense. But this is probably the lowest total that I've seen all season in baseball. So I'm like, yeah, I don't really want it. We do have 2 good bullpens in this one. Atlanta used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Both teams did play yesterday. Milwaukee used 3 as well. As far as the travel, though, Atlanta's playing a 3rd game in 3 days, all in different cities, because they were in Minnesota. Got swept there. Then I took them yesterday, as you remember, and they were in Chicago and played a makeup game against the White Sox. Now they're going to Milwaukee. Good news for Atlanta, though, is that that's not a lot of travel between Chicago and Milwaukee, and really they're just kind of staying in the Midwest area here, so it could be worse playing 3 days in 3 different cities. It's a rarity in baseball, but the travel spot definitely could be worse for them than it is. Milwaukee is staying at home, which is obviously better for them. They just won the series against the Mariners yesterday. I think Milwaukee probably has the better bullpen at this point. They're number 5. Atlanta's number 3. These are both good bullpens, though. They're both like top 5 bullpens. Milwaukee probably is the better offense at this point as well. They're 7th. Atlanta's dropped to 14th. Atlanta has not been hitting well recently. Milwaukee might be the better team here, man, and they might have the better starting pitcher on the mound here, too. It might be like a changing of the guard here, but we will see, because you're going to have the old-timer against the young gun here. Chris Sale is pitching for Atlanta, the old-timer. I think the age gap in this starting pitching matchup is like 14 years? Sale has had a really good season, 2.16 ERA, 1.02 whip. He's a little bit worse on the road, 2.69 road ERA. I don't really care that much about that, though. He's still pitching well. A lot of strikeouts recently, just not doing anything that's really that bad. Low hit rate, really low walk rate on the season, high strikeout rate, all that stuff is good. That means, his Ks per 9 and strikeout walk ratio are all good still. He hasn't even seen really that much of a drop-off from what he's looked like throughout his career. Jacob Misiorowski is pitching for Milwaukee. 1.75 ERA for him and .75 whip. Just ridiculous. Opposing offenses can't even reach base against this guy. This is maybe a Cy Young battle, but it's Misiorowski's to lose here, man. I think he's going to win it. He has the same ERA at home and away. It doesn't even matter. His opponent batting average is ridiculous, by the way. It's 150 or less, I think, in both cases. It's a little bit above 150 at home, but that's still insane. He's pitching really well still as well. Good command numbers here. Coming into this year, the question was, is he going to get his walk number down? And yeah, he definitely has. He's basically unhittable. I think he might have the lowest hit rate in baseball. He doesn't really walk many guys at this point either. And his strikeout rate is insane. It might be the highest strikeout rate in baseball as well. His strikeout walk ratio is really high. Strikeout per 9 is pretty insane. Like I said, 13.6. His numbers against Atlanta, 19 at-bats, 211 average, 461 OPS, 5.1 strikeout walk ratio. No extra base hits against him. It's a small sample, but I don't expect him to do poorly, obviously. I don't expect Sale to do poorly either. Sale, by the way, against Milwaukee, because I forgot to look at that. I'm all over the place here. He's held them to a 244 batting average, 596 OPS, 86 at-bats, 34 strikeouts, and 6 walks. So those numbers are pretty good as well. I think there's no way to really look besides the under in this game. The problem is the total's at 6. Like I said, I think it's the lowest total that I've seen all season, and maybe rightfully so. This is an elite pitching matchup here. I wouldn't want to be on an over. You got good bullpens, too. The under is probably really the only way to look at this game, but I don't want to do it when the total is that low, although the odds makers are telling you something by putting the total that low. They think it's going to be a very low-scoring game as well, and you'd have to be insane to think otherwise, probably. It's just a matter of how low is it going to go. 71% of tickets, 73% of the cash on the over. I'm not really sure that a lot of money, professional money, is really actually hitting the over in this game. I wouldn't really think so. It's a stay away from me. I like the under, but at that number, I just don't want to do it. 71% of tickets, 85% of the cash on Milwaukee at about minus 130 something here. So again, it could be a changing of the guard here. Both pitchers should be up for this. Misiorowski's probably going to be excited to go against one of the a future Hall of Fame pitcher in Chris Sale. And Chris Sale probably wants to hold down the fort. You know what I mean? You're not going to take over this thing yet, young man. You know what I mean? So probably motivation for both pitchers here. Zach, what's up? Happy Friday. Thanks for hanging out. Your Kansas City Royals, I believe they're on a 5-game win streak. So there you go. St. Louis and Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I believe, was off yesterday. And they just got Nestor Cortez for some reason, who, if you remember Cortez, I forgot about this. He does this weird, twist during his windup that I think is a balk. I don't know how they allow him to do what he does, where it's he stops his windup and then continues it. I'm like, dude, I don't know how it's allowed. It's bizarre. I don't think he's that good of a pitcher, but Philly picked him up. We'll see what happens with that. If he's actually on the team, he'll be their number 5 starter in the rotation, which it can't really get much worse than Andrew Painter right now, so whatever. Anyway, Phillies won 6 games in a row. They just swept the Marlins. They're staying at home. I believe Philly was off yesterday, and St. Louis had to play yesterday, so Philadelphia has a rest advantage, and they're not having to travel. St. Louis just won in a crazy high-scoring game against the Reds yesterday. They won that series, and now they're coming into this game traveling here. So some advantages to Philly here. And the starting pitching is going to favor Philly as well, and that's going to be kind of the problem here. Is Philadelphia probably is the right side, but they're way too heavy of a favorite here. St. Louis used 4 relief pitchers yesterday while Philly didn't play. So that should give Philly the bullpen edge here. Philly's ranked 18th in bullpen, but I think they're worse than that. Their ERA is not that good. St. Louis has the better ERA, but they're ranked 21st. Although given the lack of rest for St. Louis, I'll give the bullpen edge to Philly in this game, but I don't think it's that significant. Neither offense has been very good. Philly's getting a little bit better, and they're better at home at least. They're 19th. St. Louis 24th. So I'll give Philly an offensive edge as well. Hunter Dobbins is pitching for St. Louis. He's all right. I mean, like, he's a guy that usually will come in there and be decent enough that you won't be dead in the game. But is that going to be good enough going up against one of Philly's good pitchers? Probably not. Dobbins, 3.42 ERA, 1.3 whip. The whip indicates his ERA should be higher than it is. He's been somewhat good on the road. His opponent batting average on the road is low, 216. He's not pitching too badly here, except that his walk rate looks like kind of an issue here. 17 to 10 strikeout walk ratio this month and 16 to third innings. Yeah, you can't really keep getting away with walking that many guys. He did face Philly 2 starts ago in St. Louis, and he only allowed 1 earned run in 5 innings in that one, but was kind of walk heavy. He walked 3 guys in that one. He does have kind of a low hit rate here. He walks too many guys. His strikeout rate is okay, so the bad number for him is the walks. But it was kind of weird that he wasn't anywhere to start the season because he was decent enough for the Red Sox last year. Like, you think that some team would have had him to start the season, and he's obviously, like, he's capable of pitching. Like, he's nowhere close to the worst pitcher in baseball or anything like that. His strikeout walk ratio is not great, though. Strikeout per 9 is actually kind of high. It's gone up from where it was last year, but it's a small sample size here. Dobbins against Philadelphia has been good, although a lot of it was that last start he had. 18 at-bats, 222 average, 556 OPS, 6-3 strikeout walk ratio. So I don't necessarily want to fade him. He's not the better pitcher, though, in this matchup. Jesus Luzardo is pitching for Philly. Really good season from him. 3.23 ERA, 1.15 whip. He was getting unlucky, I felt, early in the season, and his home ERA still hasn't completely gone down. It's 4.63, so he has been worse at home, but he's been better at home recently. Like, his home ERA was over 6 for a while, so he's gotten that way down. He's been better at home, like I said, recently. His last home start, he kind of dominated Toronto. Although it is Toronto, they suck offensively. But prior to that, he had good home starts against Washington, against the Yankees. So even though the Yankees are struggling offensively right now, that's still pretty impressive. He's in good form right now. 28 to 5 strikeout walk ratio this month. Phillies won all 3 of his starts this month. Yeah, he's putting up some good stuff here. Low hit rate. His walk rate isn't really too high either. Strikeout rate is quite high, so those numbers all look good. Strikeout walk ratio is solid, even though if he does have any issue, it is still the walks, but it's not too bad. His strikeout rate is the highest that it's been in his career, actually, this year. So he is debatably actually having his best season of his career here. Against St. Louis, they're not going to be that intimidating of an offense. They have 20 at-bats against him. 5 of their hitters have faced him. It's a small sample. 250 average, 550 OPS, 3.0 strikeout walk ratio. I think, Philly probably should have the edges in this game because they do have the rest edge, like I said. They have the better pitcher on the mound here. Probably they have the bullpen edge because of the rest here. You got to pay for it, though. They're at like minus 200, above minus 200, 78% of the tickets, 90% of the cash on them. I wouldn't want to do it at that price. It looks like St. Louis is actually undecided right now, so I don't even know if it's going to be Dobbins or not. That makes this more difficult to figure out. If it is Dobbins, I would say first 5 under makes some sense here. The full game total is at 8. The money is kind of indicating on the under. 50-50 on the ticket percentage there on the total. 53% of the cash on the under. Yeah, if it's Dobbins, Luzardo, they both do have good matchup numbers. So I could see that being a first 5 under, but I wouldn't really want to deal with the bullpens, especially not St. Louis. So that might be a way to look at it, the first 5 under. I think Philly will win, but there isn't really a great way to play that. I mean, I guess you could lay the run line, the minus 1.5 with Philly, and take your chances with it, but they won't bat in the ninth inning potentially, and that might hurt you because then if they're winning by 1, you're going to lose your bet. But it's a game that Philly might be able to win by multiple runs there, so I don't think the run line is off the table for that one. Toronto and the Yankees. Yankees just swept Baltimore, completing that series yesterday. They're coming back home, so the Yankees are in a return home spot, coming back from Toronto and Baltimore. So they just were in Toronto, and Toronto actually beat them 2 out of 3 in that series. Yankees might get up for this because of that, and because it's probably still sticking in their mind that Toronto's the team that eliminated them last year. So the Yankees probably still will get up for games against Toronto. Toronto will get up for it too. I mean, Toronto's playing to win against these teams, right? Like they played well against the Yankees. They just played reasonably well against Tampa Bay, I would say. So, yeah. And it's not a great spot for the Yankees returning home from a road trip. You know, I always talk about that. Teams can get a little bit distracted in a spot like that. Yankees obviously are going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of can they catch up to Tampa in the division, which, yeah, they want to do, but they have a big lead in the wild card. They're sitting atop the wild card race, and they're probably not going to fall out of that spot. Red Sox are 4 games behind them right now. Red Sox did not play yesterday. Toronto is coming in from beating Tampa Bay, so I was correct about that. Shane Bieber, good start yesterday from Toronto, man. I don't think he's done yet. They're coming in from that game. That was a big win. They're still not going to overlook the Yankees, though, so I do think both teams will show up for this. As far as the bullpen usage, the Yankees only used 1 guy out of the bullpen yesterday, so their bullpen's rested. Toronto only used 2, but they used Varland, their closer, even though I don't know why they did that in a game where they had a 4-run lead. Doesn't really totally make sense because you knew you were going to have to face the Yankees, so why are you using your closer? I don't know, but the Yankees have the better bullpen here. They're ranked 2nd in bullpen. It's close between them and the Red Sox. Toronto is 16th, but decent bullpen, but the Yankees are better. Yankees, despite all their offensive struggles, they're still the better offense over Toronto. They're 16th. Toronto's 28th right now. Cleveland is last again here. Toronto's tied with Seattle in 28th. Yeah, great. Toronto has not decided on a starting pitcher, and if you go back 5 games ago, it looks like it's a bullpen game for Toronto here, and that is not good. So if you wanted to fade the Yankees in the return home spot, I would not be doing that in this game. I can't trust the Toronto bullpen game, man. I just can't do it. And the Yankees look like it was going to be Cam Schlittler, but they're actually undecided. Oh, no, it looks like it is. Yeah, so Fluharty is actually now the listed starter for Toronto. He's a relief pitcher. So, yes, it's a bullpen game for Toronto. And it will be Schlittler for the Yankees in this one. For Schlittler, really good season, 2.19 ERA, 0.94 WHIP. He's ahead in the Cy Young race still for the AL. The thing you have to worry about with him is his innings count here. He's above 150 innings now this season, and it's by far the most that he's ever thrown. So the question is he going to have a drop-off here? You could argue it's kind of already happening because 2 of his last 3 starts weren't really that good, and the Yankees have actually lost his last 4 starts, although 2 of them were really good against the White Sox and Atlanta. Didn't really pitch well at all against St. Louis, and then he had some more walk issues against Toronto last time out, although he did enough that the Yankees could have won that game, but the Yankees put up no offense in that one, so that's what happened in that one. Schlittler, yeah, I mean, I don't think he's done yet, but I think you probably shouldn't treat him as the most elite pitcher right now just because of the amount of innings that he's thrown, but I think you should still treat him as a good pitcher, and he is going up against a Toronto lineup that sucks. Toronto did just see him, but I don't know if that really matters that much. Schlittler, low hit rate, high strikeout rate, low walk rate, all that stuff is good. Strikeout walk ratio is very high. Strikeout per 9 is also very high. Schlittler against Toronto. Toronto was actually getting to him until the last time out. He actually improved his numbers against Toronto last time out. They have 89 at-bats against him now. Still a bad strikeout-walk ratio for Schlittler here. 22 strikeouts is good, but 11 walks is kind of crazy. So he's had some command issues against Toronto. But Toronto, I believe, was hitting 280 off him with 770 OPS or something prior to last start. Now we're looking at a 258 average at 643 OPS against him. So he got his numbers against them down. I don't think Schlittler's going to pitch badly here. But if you want the Yankees, you have to pay a massive price for it. They're at like minus 230 here, down from minus 250. So some actual money is backing Toronto here. 83% of the tickets, 51% of the cash on the Yankees. So they're a heavily public side with a lot less of the money on them. Looks like kind of a pros versus Joes market here, with the Yankees being the Joes side. And yeah, I mean, it's about the price, and probably, I guess, because the Yankees are in a return home spot. So those are indicators that maybe it makes sense to be looking towards Toronto, but it's such a disadvantage with Toronto having a bullpen game against Schlittler. I don't see them coming away with the win here, man. I would be pretty surprised. The total is low, though. It's at 7 or 7.5, and the money is kind of indicating towards the under. I wouldn't really want to risk it on that either, but it might make sense because these offenses have both been bad recently. So the under, there are some things that sort of indicate that way. The last time these two teams played 2 series ago, I'm pretty sure that the games were pretty low scoring. So there is that. So it's more a product of how these offenses are playing recently, I would say. But maybe the under makes some sense. I don't think I would... I think I would lean more towards an under than an over in this game. Let's put it that way. I don't have a good feel for the side, though. I mean, it's just... The matchup should favor the Yankees enough that they should win, but if you're going to play the Yankees, you got to lay a minus 1.5, and I would not do that, especially not in that situation that they're in. I don't think the price is quite right on that. It's a very hefty price, and you pretty much know you're going to have to pay extra for Yankees with Schlittler. Zach, yes. Royals, great season. They just swept the Athletics, man. Come on. In a 4-game series. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for the jewels. I still haven't figured it out, but the jewels might translate into like money. I'm not sure. It seems like the episodes where you give me the jewels, it gives me like $1 for every 10 or something like that. I don't know, but thank you, sir. San Francisco at my Boston Red Sox here. And of course, a game where the Red Sox have one of their better starters on the mound. Of course, they have to go up against San Francisco's best starter in this game. And then tomorrow, the Red Sox are putting Sandoval out there, who should not even be on the team at this point. Oh, God. The Red Sox might lose both these games, man. And the Red Sox have no business losing to the fucking Giants in Boston. Red Sox should at least be the more motivated team because they're trying to maintain their wild card spot. Giants don't have a whole lot to play for, although this is the Devers battle. Although the Red Sox already played against the Giants after that trade happened, so I don't know if that really matters either. Red Sox had yesterday off. The Giants played yesterday, so the Red Sox do have a rest advantage here. Red Sox are staying at home. They lost in extra innings in the last game to Arizona, which was kind of bullshit. Red Sox had the lead early in the game. They blew the lead. Then they had a huge home run from Mickey Gasper, who homered in every game in that series, even though Gasper's like 31 and he's never done anything in Major League Baseball, but he was like crushing in AAA. So they're like, all right, we have too many injuries right now. Let's call him up. And now he's hitting a home run in every game. It makes no fucking sense. Like, I don't even think he's good, but whatever. Anyway, Red Sox have a rest advantage here. They're staying at home. San Francisco is having to travel in from Cleveland, where they played yesterday. And Cleveland got back on the winning track with a win there. Cleveland, I said maybe stick a fork in them if they lost that series, but Cleveland has a lot of weak opponents that they're facing here, including Colorado starting tonight. So Cleveland is not done yet because they're facing a bunch of bad teams coming up here, and they're in the middle of that right now. San Francisco used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. This will also be the Marcelo Meyer battle, kind of, but Meyer, I guess, is not playing in this series. Red Sox traded him to the Giants for Eric Miller. Miller will certainly be pitching in this series at some point, unless he gets hurt. Anyway, Red Sox are the number 1 bullpen still, although they have injuries here. Whitlock, one of their best relief pitchers, their setup man, he's not back. Slayton is hurt right now as well. The Red Sox bullpen is struggling right now without some of these guys here, man. Like, they can't get it together, so that's not good. They're still better than the Giants, though. The Giants 24th, not really having a good season in the bullpen department. Red Sox are up to 8th offensively, tied with Miami. I don't know if that's going to continue or not, but their offense has come alive over the past month or so after it was miserable at the beginning of the season. And a lot of it is team chemistry, man, because they still don't have a really stacked lineup here. They have a few guys in the lineup that are good, like Wilson Contreras and whatever, but he can't run the bases right now because he's got that injury that he's dealing with or whatever. And the home crowd is booing him. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, he's still going out there and getting hits for you, so whatever. He's not really known for his base running prowess anyway. San Francisco, pretty weak offense. They're 21st. Like I said, I thought they were going to plummet back down, although the Red Sox do play in a more hitter-friendly ballpark. Logan Webb is pitching for San Francisco. He's their best starter. He apparently had a back/shoulder issue in the last game, but it looked like he pitched like a full start in that one. It was against Colorado. I don't know. He pitched well in that one and then got taken out, I guess. I didn't even know that he did because it looked like he went his full workload there. Webb has had a good season, 3.5 ERA, 1.06 whip. He's usually not quite as good on the road, and his ERA is a little bit higher on the road this year, 3.6, but he's not that bad on the road, obviously. So I guess you could tell that he got pulled early in that Colorado game. Even though it was a 6-inning performance, Webb a lot of times goes deeper than that into these games, and he only threw 80 pitches, so that's a low pitch count for him. They usually let him go like up to about 100, and then they take him out. He goes out there and throws a lot of pitches, man. Like, they just let him do it. That's just what he does. He's just used to it. Webb has been in good form recently. He's allowed no more than one earned run in any of his starts this month with a 17-2 strikeout walk ratio. His last start in July was also good. He's in good form right now. He's got a low hit rate on the season, low walk rate on the season. Strikeout rate is not high. He gets a lot of ground ball outs, though, and his strikeout walk ratio is still not too bad because he walks very few people. His strikeout per 9, though, is the lowest that it's been in his career, so he doesn't really have strikeout stuff right now. A little bit weird because he's not really old at this point, so I don't know what the deal is with that. The Red Sox have actually been able to hit him, though, in 34 at-bats, 324 average, 832 OPS, 8-2 strikeout walk ratio. Few guys in the lineup here that have seen him have hit him pretty well. So, including some of the left-handers the Red Sox have. So the Red Sox actually do hit him pretty well. Sonny Gray is pitching for the Red Sox. Really, really good season for Gray. Better than I thought it would be. Like, Gray is a guy that he's up there in age, so it seems like he kind of gets overworked most seasons and then kind of fades at the end of the season. Maybe the Red Sox have managed him a little bit better. I'm not sure, but this has been one of his better seasons, even though he's 36. 2.65 ERA, 1.15 whip. He's been good at home. 2.45 home ERA, so he's better at home. Just threw a 7-inning shutout in Pittsburgh. Really good start there against an offense that is pretty intimidating in their home stadium, and he got through that pretty much with ease. He's been really good. This month he has a .95 ERA, 19-4 strikeout walk ratio. He's allowed 0 runs in 2 of the 3 starts. The only start where he allowed runs was against Toronto. Toronto, not a good offense, so that's why I'm laughing, because he shut out the White Sox and Pittsburgh. That White Sox one was the last time he was at home. He's actually had a lot of starts on the road recently. Gray, low hit rate here, low walk rate. His strikeout rate's not really that high, but he doesn't put a lot of guys on base at all. His strikeout walk ratio is not too bad here, although it's gone down from what it was when he was with St. Louis. It went way up for some reason. It's gone kind of back towards his career average here this year, but that's still not that bad. His strikeout per 9 is down. I don't know how he was striking out that many guys with St. Louis, but you could tell, like, because he kind of took a nosedive at the end of the season, it does seem like St. Louis was overworking him, and it looks like maybe he's pitching a little bit differently this year to sort of maintain his health a little bit more, let's say. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know, man. Against the Giants, his numbers are, I wouldn't say they're great. Low average, 227 batting average. The OPS is high, 802. This is in 66 at-bats, 16 strikeouts, 14 walks, though. I don't know what the deal is with the walks, but it looks like it's because he's pitching around Adames, who has 8 of those walks. Adames has hit him well. Like, nobody else in this lineup has really hit him that well, except Devers has been okay against him. Other than that, not really a whole lot going on there. But those are their 2 best hitters, San Francisco, so whatever. the money's coming in on the under in this game. I don't think I would do it. I mean, these two pitchers don't have good matchup numbers here against these opposing offenses, and you're getting no leeway with this total, really. It's at 7.5 juice to the under, so it's teetering on 7, 50-50 on the tickets, 52% of the cash on the under. It looks like it would be an under on the surface, but when you dig into those numbers a little bit, I don't want to do it. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with the under. I mean, it definitely could be. Good pitching for the starters here in this game, at least. I mean, I guess maybe if you're really worried about San Francisco's bullpen, you can make it a first 5, but I'm not going to risk it. But maybe the under is still the better way to play this game. The money is indicating sort of on San Francisco, but I don't think I really agree. That one would really be about the price, though. The Red Sox around -170. That is a heavy price. Like, getting Logan Webb as an underdog like that does seem kind of tempting, right? Because if you think this is going to be a pitching duel and you're getting San Francisco as a big underdog, you know, I mean, if you're going to play San Francisco at all, though, I would say do it in the first 5 because they will not have a bullpen edge, I wouldn't think. 91% of tickets, 88% of the cash on the Red Sox here. But the Red Sox are rested, remember. They do have the rest edge here and the travel edge, and their starting pitcher has the better matchup numbers here and the better home road splits. So there are more indicators towards the Red Sox than towards the Giants here. And plus the motivation, I think, is there as well. But the Red Sox, yeah, they're a very public side and they're way too heavily priced. So I don't think you could do it. Like, if you're going to do it, you would have to lay -1 or something with the Red Sox, like make a -1 run line. I wouldn't want to do that. The Red Sox still aren't really as good offensively at home. And they're still below 500 at home, by the way. As soon as they got to 500 at home, they lost again, and now they're below 500 at home again. But I will say that since the All-Star break, the Red Sox are obviously above 500 at home, but a lot of the damage they've done has come on the road. So the Red Sox are actually still a better road team than home team. All right, Washington and Miami. This is an ugly pitching matchup in this one. Miami, I believe, Miami didn't play yesterday, but they're returning home from a road trip, so Miami does have a rest advantage here because Washington played yesterday, but the road trip return is a negative. So it's one of those spots where you have the team returning home from a road trip, bad spot, but they also have a rest advantage. So it's like, what do you do with that? That means both teams kind of have a negative going on there. Miami returned from Cincinnati and Philly, and they got swept in Philly. But you know, I talk about them. When a team returns home from the road, a lot of times they won't be up for that game. Washington is behind Miami in the standings, although Miami, I think, is, I guess, still trying to fight for a wild card spot here. Washington, I think, at this point has kind of resigned themselves to knowing they're not going to make the playoffs. But Washington might get up for this game against Miami, you know, and it might be a more distracted spot for Miami. Washington maybe has a chance to play spoiler here. Miami in the return home spot, it is a negative, but I don't really want Washington either because they played yesterday, but that's also not the only concern with them. The pitching setup for them is concerning. Washington used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. They are not a good bullpen. Miami's ranked 8th in bullpen, although I don't think they're that good, but they're a better bullpen than Washington. Washington 26th, plus having less rest. Washington's definitely at a bullpen disadvantage here. Washington is still the better offense. They're number 2. Miami tied in 8th with the Red Sox, as I mentioned. This is going to be a bullpen game for Washington. Our friend Brad Lord is pitching in this game for the Nationals. He'll be the opener. He'll probably go somewhere in the vicinity of 2 innings here. I don't think he's a great pitcher, but he does okay somewhat for the most part when they have him go out there. Although actually recently, he hasn't really been that good. I mean, his last outing was terrible against the Mets. He walked 4 guys and only got 2 guys out and allowed a hit and 2 runs. Yeah, that's not good. So I don't know, man. I don't think we need to really go into Lord that much because he's not going to be out there for that long. But I think it's a negative for Washington. I don't like their pitching setup. And you're going to get their bullpen for about 7 innings here probably. That doesn't look good to me, or at least 6 innings, I guess. Yeah, that bad of a bullpen. You don't want to back that. But on the Miami side, it's also not good. Ryan Gusto is getting the start for them. Sometimes they put an opener in front of him, too. I would say if you're going to play this game, by the way, I would say just play it action. Don't pick either starter because probably, I mean, you basically know what's happening. Lord probably is opening, but it's not totally guaranteed. But you know you're getting a bullpen game on the Washington side, and you know you're getting like a pseudo bullpen game from Miami here with possibly an opener in front of Gusto. Possibly Gusto just opens the game or starts the game, I should say. And he'll probably be out there for like 4+ innings, but he's not good. Gusto has a 4.7 ERA, 1.32 whip, not great. He is better at home a bit, 4.56 home ERA. It is a more pitcher-friendly ballpark here. He's not really pitching deep into games here, though, although he has a 15-1 strikeout walk ratio this month, so give him credit for that in 14 2/3 innings. Good command numbers here. So he's actually pitching a little bit better this month, so I will admit that, but his hit rate is still high on the season. Doesn't really walk that many guys. His strikeout rate is okay, but he is usually too hittable, and that is his problem. His strikeout walk ratio is actually pretty good this year, though. His strikeout per 9 isn't too bad either, like I said. So maybe he's not as bad as I think he is, but I still don't think he's that good. And against a powerful lineup like Washington, maybe a little bit of an issue. They only have 12 at-bats against him, though. They have 5 hitters who have faced him. 333 average, 718 OPS isn't really as high as you would think. No extra base hits off him. That's why. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. I still think the over is probably the way to look at this game, although I know it's a more pitcher-friendly park in Miami, but it's just bad pitching, dude. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Like, as soon as I saw that matchup, I was like, probably an over. I don't actually want to do it, and a lot of times I get caught trying to fade these Washington bullpen games, and they turn out better than expected. I don't know if you can fully trust Miami's offense. Washington's offense is taking a little bit of a dip since the trade deadline. Total's at 8. It's a reasonable total, and the money is indicating sort of on the over here. 79% of tickets, 90% of the cash on the over. If I was going to play this game, that is what I would do. I would play the over. Miami's getting some of the money, 59% of tickets, 69% of the cash on them. They're about minus 145 here. It's interesting that Miami is a favorite by that much against Washington. Some of it has to do with the pitching setup here, though. But Washington's been the better team on the season, so it is kind of weird to see them as an underdog like that. Plus, it's a return home spot for Miami, like I said. So it is a fade spot for Miami, but the one thing they do have going for them is, well, 2 things, I guess. They have an actual starter, sort of, on the mound. Miami does, and they have a rest advantage, but whatever. I think over is the better way to play it. But, you know, when teams return home from the road and they have a rest advantage, though, a lot of times that hurts the offense because the offense can cool off a little bit and the timing can be off and maybe distracted a bit. So I will say that. All right, there's an Apple TV, not a doubleheader, but Apple TV has 2 games on at the same time. And one of them is probably more interesting than the other, which is this AL East matchup between Tampa and Baltimore. This one is probably going to get more of the views than the other one. I mean, Anaheim is playing in the other. Do you think anybody's going to want to watch the other one? Anaheim and Texas? Probably not. Tampa Bay and Baltimore here. Baltimore, I mean, they're in last place in the AL East, so they're not eliminated from the wild card yet. That's how bad the AL is. Baltimore's lost 4 games in a row, though, but they're staying at home. They just got swept by the Yankees. They're still going to get up for games against Tampa Bay, you know, because they get to possibly play spoiler or whatever. They get to play against another divisional foe who's ahead of them. So they're not going to just throw out these games, I wouldn't imagine. Tampa Bay has not been playing well recently, though. Neither team is coming into this game playing that well. Tampa's lost 5 of 7. They just lost the series to the Blue Jays, and the only game they won, they barely won. So like I said, the Blue Jays did play well in that series. Now Tampa Bay is starting a road trip here, which usually is a decent focus spot, especially if you're not playing well at home. One of the better things you could do is just forget about that, go on the road. So it's not a horrible spot for Tampa here. We have the same pitching matchup in this game that we had in the previous series between these two teams, and I played Tampa in that one. I'm pretty sure I gave out Tampa as a play on the show, and it did not work out well in this same pitching matchup. I'm not going to do it again here. I'm not going to try to do it again, but you know, I might still lean that way, though. Tampa Bay used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Baltimore used 2 as well. Tampa Bay is ranked higher in the bullpen at 4th. Baltimore is 12th, although Baltimore's ERA is slightly better. Kind of tough to gauge, man. I mean, I guess maybe Tampa's a little bit better. I don't think either bullpen is that good, though. I think they're both kind of mediocre bullpens. It's close between the two bullpens. Tampa is the better offense. They're ranked 6th, Baltimore 17th. So Tampa does have an offensive edge here by a bit. Freddie Peralta pitching for Tampa Bay. They picked him up at the trade deadline. I still can't figure this out, man. Like, why all of a sudden he's just having I thought that it was because he was on the Mets for this season, and the Mets just were uninspiringly bad. That's why I thought Peralta was pitching badly, because he's had a really good career with Milwaukee, and this year his numbers are bad. 5.27 ERA, 1.48 WHIP. Like, we're talking about way worse than what he's done throughout his career, and he's not old. He's 30. So what the hell is going on with them? I was like, well, maybe he just isn't motivated pitching for the Mets. Okay, so now he's on Tampa. And by the way, bad indicator for Peralta. Last time I backed him at home, he's been a better home pitcher this year, but on the road, 6.83 ERA with an above 300 opponent batting average. That's pretty bad. So yeah, I wouldn't want to back him on the road here. I thought a change of scenery would help him, switching over to pitching for Tampa Bay, pitching for a contender. It hasn't really helped him much. His strikeout rate's kind of low with them. His walk rate's kind of high, 10-5 strikeout walk ratio, 14 1/3, 16 hits allowed, 12 runs allowed. This is bad, dude. Although the worst that he was at Colorado. It was Coors Field. Maybe you give him a pass for that. He pitched fairly well against the A's in the A's stadium, so I thought that was a good sign. I thought that maybe it was just an adjustment thing, and okay, now he's pitching better, and that was in another hitter-friendly ballpark. But he had a bit of a setback last time against Baltimore. He only allowed 2 runs, though. So it looked bad because we took a loss on that on the show, and it was a 10-2 loss. But it wasn't really Peralta that did that. Like, Tampa Bay's bullpen did not help the cause at all in that game. So Peralta was mediocre in the game, and, it wasn't entirely his fault. Now, Peralta, it is still the case that he's good against Baltimore, which was part of the reason why I liked Peralta in that last game. Even though he was very mediocre in that start, they have 53 at-bats against him. They still only have a 170 average against him, 596 OPS, 17-8 strikeout walk ratio. Not the best ratio there, but Peralta, he does have some walk issues throughout his career, but this year, his numbers have just all been worse. Like, this year, his strikeout per 9 and strikeout walk ratio are both lower. So I don't know what's going on with him, man. Yeah, like, you can see his numbers have been much better throughout his career, and I think his walks have gotten worse this year as well, like I said, which usually that's his only issue, is that he's a little bit wild. I don't know, but he is good against Baltimore, so he might still be backable in this game, even though he's bad on the road this year. Trevor Rogers is pitching for Baltimore, though. He's had the better overall season, 4.15 ERA, 1.25 WHIP. He found new life with Baltimore last year and had a good season last year. He's a little bit worse at home, though, this year, 4.31 home ERA. But he's in really good form right now. Like, he's in way better form than Peralta. There's no way around that. Rogers has only allowed more than 2 runs in one start, going all the way back to early June, and in that one he allowed 3. So he's only allowed more than 2 earned runs twice since the beginning of June, and no more than 4 in any of them. His strikeout walk ratio has been really good recently, 19-3 this month. So yeah, he's pitching well right now. His hit rate is higher than you would think. It's mediocre, kind of. He doesn't really walk many guys, though. And his strikeout rate is a little bit low, though, as well. So kind of mediocre numbers from him, really. Strikeout walk ratio is all right. Strikeout per 9, what are we looking at? Yeah, is all right. So I don't think he's quite as good as maybe he looks, but he is in good form right now. However, the other reason that I faded him in that last game and took Tampa was that Rogers is not good against Tampa. They have 65 at-bats against him, 338 average, 909 OPS, 10-5 strikeout walk ratio. So he's not good against Tampa. Although in that last start, he was good against them. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs. So he did outpitch Peralta in that one. So this is going to be a stay away from me, but I still think I'm going to lean Tampa here. The money's all coming in on Baltimore, so the market is very much disagreeing with that. 55% of the tickets on Tampa, 73% of the cash on Baltimore. Baltimore's at minus 120-something here. I think some of it is kind of a market read type of thing. Like, the public's coming in on Tampa because they're like, oh, Tampa's the team with the way better record. Like, it's first place versus last place, right? So it looks way too easy to take the first place team as an underdog against the last place team. And people kind of know the name, Peralta, I guess, whatever. So it does look way too easy to take Tampa, and that does worry me in this game. But the pitching matchup, I think, does actually favor Tampa here. I mean, I guess maybe you could argue going first 5 with them as well, because the bullpens are just kind of a mystery, really, to me in this game, as far as not being able to figure out which one is better than the other. The total's at 8, and the money is actually coming in on the under for whatever that's worth. So the under money does seem to think that both pitchers are actually going to do okay here. I don't know, man. It's a game I don't want to deal with, though. I don't really want to back Peralta on the road. He has significant home road splits. Rogers doesn't really. They're negative for Peralta here. So, all right. Mets and the White Sox. The White Sox had to play yesterday in that makeup game. So I believe the Mets didn't play yesterday, right? Yeah, so the Mets have a rest advantage here. The Mets are coming in from playing San Diego, and they're starting a road trip here, and they're playing well right now. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. So the Mets starting a road trip with a day off, with momentum. I think that's a positive spot for the Mets, starting a road trip. So I think the situation does favor the Mets. They got the bullpen rest edge here. Probably have the better bullpen as well. The White Sox, though, I wouldn't necessarily want to fade them because they're coming off a game where they got shut out at home. And we won. That was the only play I gave out on the show yesterday, the Braves. White Sox, I thought, were kind of in a negative spot after playing huge series against Detroit and against the Cubs. But now, coming off a game where you get shut out at home, a lot of times in baseball, it is typically a positive spot to play on a team after they get shut out at home. So the White Sox might bounce back from that here. And they're staying in Chicago here, so you don't have to worry about them playing 3 different series in 3 days here because all of the games are in Chicago. So they're staying in the same city, so that helps the White Sox kind of mitigate that a bit. So, it's a worse spot for Atlanta having to travel to an actual different city here. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, Mets in Chicago here, right. The White Sox did use some relief pitchers yesterday. They used 3 while the Mets were off. So the Mets definitely have a bullpen edge. The Mets have a decent bullpen. They're ranked 6th. I mean, the White Sox, I would say their bullpen's decent, and the Mets bullpen is actually good. White Sox, even though the Mets traded some guys away, White Sox 15th in bullpen. So they're not bad, but the Mets have the better one and the rest edge here. White Sox definitely have the better offense. They're ranked 12th. The Mets are 25th, tied with the Reds, although the Mets have been better recently. Mets have Sean Manaea pitching, and this is interesting. I think he will start because he's been starting recently. They've pretty much made him a staple of the starting rotation now, I believe. Although if you're still worried about that, if you're going to play this game, you could pick Burke must start for the White Sox and not pick a starter for the Mets if you're still worried about that. But it's probably going to be Manaea, and at worst, they're going to put an opener in front of him. But Manaea is actually pitching fairly well recently. The Mets have won his last 4 starts. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs only 1 time over that span. Last time out against Washington, and they still won the game. He went fairly deep into the game and had a lot of strikeouts. His strikeout-walk ratio, not too bad over this recent run here, 29-9. It is a few too many walks. Manaea is kind of known for doing that, walking too many guys. But he looks like he's pitching pretty well right now. And it might be more the old Manaea's coming back here, where it seemed like throughout a lot of this season, Manaea had become too hittable, but he wasn't walking as many guys as he usually does. Now it seems like he's walking guys again, but he's become less hittable again. So I don't know. He's trying to find that balance possibly. But his hit rate on the season is not great. It's just below 1 per inning. His walk rate is lower than you usually get out of him. And his strikeout rate is actually pretty high. It's above 1 per inning, so that's good. Manaea, his strikeout walk ratio is not too bad here. It's kind of around what he's been doing the recent years. Last year it was way higher, but it was a small sample size. Strikeout per 9, still pretty good here, like I said. Yeah, I mean, Manaea, I think he might be backable here, man. And he is actually a little bit better on the road, believe it or not. 4.07 road ERA. His numbers against, who are we talking about? I already forget. White Sox, right? Yeah, the White Sox. Manaea, he's been decent against them, although they only have 5 hitters who have faced him, but it is 51 at bats here. 216 average allowed, 678 OPS. The only number in here that's kind of bad is the walks, as you could guess. 10 strikeouts, 5 walks. Grichuk is like the only guy that really does like a considerable amount of damage against. So I guess Benintendi does pretty well as well. But Grichuk's the guy that really hits him for power here. But to me, yeah, you're looking at Manaea does have pretty good numbers here against the White Sox. So I think he may be backable here. Sean Burke is the better of the Seans this year, pitching for the White Sox. But for Burke, you got to worry a little bit about his innings count here. He went 134 and a third last year. He's up to 140 this year. And this has been his best season so far. And he's still young. And, you know, his innings pitch is going up. You know, it might be a little bit of an issue for him in the coming starts. You know, like once you get up to that number where you haven't done it before and it becomes unfamiliar territory, like a young guy like this might wear out a little bit because he's not used to it. I don't know if it's going to happen yet because Burke has been good. A 3.15 ERA, 1.11 whip. He's been basically the same home and away. ERA a little bit worse at home. Opponent batting average a little bit better at home. So not a lot to see there. Now, Burke wasn't good in his last start, though, against Detroit. Gave up 4 runs in 4 1/3 innings, walked 3 guys. He was a bit all over the place there. And actually, 2 of his last 3 starts were kind of questionable, and he didn't make it 5 innings. Both on the road, though. The other one was against the Red Sox. His last home start was very good against Cincinnati. Does have a low hit rate on the season. His walk rate is really the only number that isn't that good as the walks. And then the strikeout rate is high, but the walk number is still not really that bad. Good strikeout walk ratio here. Good strikeouts per 9. So yeah, Burke is good. Against the Mets, though, small sample here, but it's only 8 at bats. It's only 4 hitters who have faced him, but they do have a 375 average against him and 1,069 OPS, 2-to-1 strikeout walk ratio. I wouldn't put too much weight into this, but Burke does look like he's starting to struggle a little bit. Like his recent form isn't that good. Manaea has the better recent form. The Mets have the rest advantage here. I think the Mets have a bullpen edge as well, so I would play the Mets if I was going to play this game. And, you know, maybe a little bit weird that the White Sox have to play 3 different teams in 3 days. The money seems to agree with me. 76% of tickets, 64% of the cash on the White Sox. This almost made the cut for me, man. One of the only issues is that the White Sox, you know, I mean, they're still staying at home, and they're coming off an ugly shutout loss at home, so I don't think they're going to overlook the Mets here for that reason, but minus 140 is the price on the White Sox here. I think you're getting a team with a decent amount of advantages here with the Mets at a pretty decent underdog price, you know, so you'll be able to get the Mets probably plus 120 something. That's what I would do. I would just play the Mets on the money line in this one, and the money, again, seems to agree with it. The money's also playing the over 7.5 or 8. I don't really have a great gauge on that. To me, it seems like a little bit more of an under game because Manaea is pitching better recently and isn't really that bad. And Burke, both pitchers are sort of in the better home road split a little bit. And Burke has been good on the season, so it seems more under-ish than over-ish to me. But I don't know, man. The better way to play this, I would say, is the Mets, though. Like I was saying, take advantage of that rest advantage. And I almost did it, like I said, but I guess my other hesitation is just that Burke is generally better than Manaea, so that worries me slightly. That shouldn't really keep you off of a game, but there are just a couple of things that give me a little bit of pause there. But yes, I like the Mets there. All right, A's in Houston. Houston, Mr. Pinsey, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Houston is coming off just a disgusting loss yesterday to Anaheim. They just lost the series to Anaheim. Houston's still atop the AL West right now, but you lose 18-3 to an Anaheim team that can't hit at all. I think it was Tatsuya Imai going in there. He was pitching in relief there, and he got blasted in that game, I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't read too much into that. I think, if anything, Houston's going to want to bounce back after that. That was just a hideous loss. Houston can't keep doing that, so I expected them to be focused here. However, the A's should be focused as well because they just had a gross 4-game sweep at the hands of the Royals. Terrible series for the A's, although they're not a good team. But coming off of that, they could be in bounce-back mode as well, and they get to play a divisional foe and get to potentially play spoiler in this series for Houston. So I think the A's will be motivated here as well. Can they actually do it here? I don't know. I mean, I do think the A's have the better starting pitcher in this game, which sounds weird, but I think that is accurate. Although Gage Jump, I thought was the case with him yesterday, and he didn't get the job done. The A's have a terrible bullpen. They used 2 guys yesterday out of the bullpen. Houston also used 2. Houston definitely has the better bullpen. They're ranked 10th. The A's are 29th, but they have the worst ERA. A's, I would say they're the worst bullpen. The whip isn't that much better than the Royals. A's 15th in offense, but Houston's better in that department too. Houston's 10th, tied with Minnesota. So the A's have disadvantages for sure in this series, except I do think the A's have a better starting pitcher going in this specific game, which is JT Ginn, who is actually not that bad. 3.53 ERA, 1.22 whip, and considering he has to pitch in that Sacramento stadium half the time, those are pretty good numbers. And he's still a little bit better on the road, which makes sense. Getting him away from that stadium, 3.49 road ERA and a very good 189 opponent batting average on the road. So he's good on the road, and he's a style of pitcher that's actually a little bit better for pitching in the A's stadium. He's not too heavy of a fly ball pitcher really at all, and doesn't allow that many home runs, so that's why he's more successful in a ballpark like that. He's been pitching okay this month. I mean, nothing spectacular, but definitely not terrible. Has a low hit rate on the season. His walk rate is kind of the only concern. That number's a little bit high. Strikeout rate is a little bit low. So his strikeout walk ratio is not really that good, and it is lower than it was last year, which was his first kind of full-ish season or close to full season. But it's still not too bad. And in ways, he's pitching a little bit better this year, but his strikeout rate's gone down a bit this year from where it was last year. Still, I think he's not too bad of a pitcher. And Houston has hit him well, though, so that is one issue. If you want to try to back him here, 38 at bats, 289 average, 789 OPS, 10-3 strikeout walk ratio. So, it's not the greatest matchup for Ginn potentially in this one, but he is generally not too bad of a pitcher. Hayden Wesneski is pitching for Houston. He's trying to make a comeback after he was injured, and he didn't pitch much last year. He's had a decent career, though, when he's actually been able to pitch. But a lot of it was out of the bullpen for the Cubs, and then they kind of use him as a starter a bit. Houston was using him as a starter last year, and he didn't pitch much because he got hurt. Now he's back, but this year his numbers don't look great. 5.16 ERA, 1.32 whip. It's not good, but it kind of indicates his ERA maybe should be a little bit lower than it is, so maybe it's a little bit misleading. He struggled at home, though, 6.3 home ERA. That's not good. Struggled last time out here at home against Seattle, which is not a good offense, so that's not a good sign there. But the rest of his numbers don't look too bad here. His hit rate is a little bit too high, but he doesn't really walk that many guys here. His strikeout rate is okay, so I don't think he's that bad. He's probably not quite as bad as his ERA makes him look. If you look at his career numbers, they're a bit better than what he's shown so far this year. And this year, it's a small sample size, but he is trying to bounce back from injury. That bad Seattle start skewing his numbers, though, and that was, I think, his worst start. His strikeout walk ratio is not great, but it's been better throughout his career than it is this year. And same thing goes for his strikeouts per 9. Against the A's lineup, they don't have much experience against him. They only have 2 hitters who have faced him, McNeil and Alika Williams, whoever the hell that is. But they're 3 for 3 off him with a home run from McNeil. No strikeouts, obviously, and also no walks. So Wesneski has not recorded an out against the A's, but it's such a small sample size. I don't know if it matters too much. Houston looks like they're getting some of the money. I don't really totally agree with it. They dropped from minus 197 all the way down to minus 178 here. 80% of tickets, 91% of the cash on Houston. I think I would lean A's first 5 in this one still. I think I prefer Ginn over Wesneski, although I know you have a bigger sample size there, and his numbers don't look too good against Houston. So, I mean, I think the other option here is to play the over. I would say the total's at 8. I would lean over in the total. 75% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the over. Maybe that is the better way to play it because both pitchers don't have good matchup numbers here, really. Yeah, I mean, over might be worth considering there. The total's not high at 8. So, although, when it's not high, I worry a little bit about the over. But when it's 8, I don't worry too much about which way when it's 8 or 8.5, I'm relying solely on the handicap pretty much and not really on trying to read what the odds makers are saying, because they're saying it's going to be a game that's, just an average total game. All right. Detroit and Kansas City. I know I have 2 plays. I haven't given out either of them yet. I know. You have to wait until some of the later games for that. Kansas City is coming off a sweep of the A's, and they're staying at home. They've won 5 games in a row, but those wins were against the Angels and the A's. I mean, those are pathetic teams. Like, debatably, the Royals, the A's, and the Angels, I think it's no debate. Those 3 teams are the worst teams in the American League. So is it really that impressive that Kansas City beat those other 2 really bad teams? Not really. They have to step it up to play the Tigers, who are an actual team here that has a good run differential. So right away, I was looking at this and thinking the Tigers might be worth a look here, and they have one of their better pitchers on the mound. Detroit does. However, Kansas City also does. Detroit's not favored by that much, but then that kind of worries me because it looks too easy to play Detroit here. Detroit is also, they have a rest edge, by the way. Kansas City is staying at home, but they played yesterday, and Detroit did not. Detroit's coming in from Pittsburgh with a day off, and they've been playing pretty poorly over the last couple series. They've lost 5 of 6. So Detroit's got to turn it around here, man. They're still fighting to make the playoffs here. So the spot to me looks definitely better for Detroit because they have a rest advantage. They're going to have the better bullpen here as well. On top of the rest advantage, I think debatably they have the better starter as well, and they're the better team. So there are a lot of things that do kind of line up on the Detroit side here. Kansas City, how many relief pitchers did they use? They used a lot of their bullpen. They used 5 relief pitchers yesterday, and their bullpen sucks. They're ranked dead last, although I think they're better than the A's, but that's not saying much. Detroit definitely is the better bullpen. They're ranked 14th. They're a decent bullpen, and they're rested. Detroit is also the better offensive team. They're 13th. Kansas City 20th, so Detroit has those edges as well. Detroit's going with Troy Melton here, who's been pretty good since they brought him up to the major league team last year. I don't think he's as good as these numbers look. Like, these numbers are unsustainable, but he is good. 1.71 ERA, 0.97 whip. He's been really good on the road, 0.99 road ERA. Not good last time out, though. He struggled, although the fielding behind him kind of ruined the game for him. And I think we may have lost on the show on that one against the White Sox. I don't remember, but he had to stay in the game. Like, the defense failing behind him, I think, kind of messed with him and made it so that he had to pitch to more guys to, like, get out of whatever inning he was in there. He didn't make it through the 5th inning there. But prior to that, he was pitching really well. He's only given up more, and even in that one, he only gave up 1 earned run. So he's only given up more than 2 earned runs once all season. He has a really low hit rate. Doesn't really walk that many guys either, but his strikeout rate is kind of more in the mediocre range. But his strikeout walk ratio is fairly good because he doesn't really walk that many guys. Strikeout per 9 is just okay. But I still think he's a good pitcher, I would say. Melton against Kansas City. They're not a good lineup, although they are better in their home stadium, though. Kansas City has actually hit him, so that is a concern that I would have if you do want to back Detroit. So this is the first indicator that was negative for me for Detroit, because I was thinking Detroit was going to get play for me here. Then I started looking at this, and I'm like, maybe not. 22 at-bats. Kansas City has a 273 average and 976 OPS against him and 5.4 strikeout walk ratio, so I don't love that. Although Melton might pitch better here for sure, but those numbers do worry me a bit. Noah Cameron is on the other side, so it is not one of Kansas City's worst pitchers going here. In fact, he's one of their better pitchers. He had a good season last year. He wasn't good for the first half of this year, but he's really turned it around. He's been pitching a lot better recently, and his overall numbers this season are pretty good. 4.16 ERA, 1.22 whip. He's not as good at home, though. So moving the walls in, I think, hurt him here. 5.17 ERA and a much worse opponent batting average at home as well, 287. So he is significantly worse at home. He just had a complete game shutout against the Angels with 1 hit. So, yeah, he completely dominated the Angels. He's coming off an awesome performance there. 4 of his last 5 starts, he's gone at least 7 innings and allowed 0 or 1 earned run. And only had 1 kind of questionable start in here, which was on the road against the Dodgers. And one of those starts was against Detroit, by the way. The first one of those 3 shutouts in there was at Detroit. He pretty much dominated them. And the only concern kind of was that his walk number was a little bit high, but it's gone down this month. So he's in very good form right now. However, he threw 115 pitches in the last start against Anaheim. Maybe that's a little bit of a concern when a young guy like this exceeds their usual pitch count, and now he's thrown over 103 straight starts. Sometimes they'll be in a little bit of a letdown spot after that, you know what I mean? Because they get a little bit overworked. So that might be a bit of a concern for him. He's right at the same amount of innings he pitched last year, exactly the same amount of innings that he pitched last year. So maybe that's a little bit of a concern as well, because he's young, so he's about to exceed his highest innings pitch count ever. But he's in good form right now. He's got a low hit rate on the season now. His walk rate's not too bad. His strikeout rate is okay. So his numbers overall are still pretty good here. Strikeout walk ratio, pretty good. Strikeout per 9. He's actually increased his strikeout rate this year, although his walk number has gotten worse this year. But the strikeout per 9 has gone up. His numbers against Detroit, I believe they're good. Let me see. Yeah, he's been good against Detroit. 23 at-bats. It's not a big sample, but 174 average, 601 OPS, 9-4 strikeout walk ratio. So I started out looking at this leaning towards Detroit. I think Detroit has numerous edges here, especially the situation, and Detroit may have the more motivation here. However, Kansas City might show up to try to spoil the party. You know what I mean? Kansas City's probably going to still be motivated because they get a chance to knock Detroit out of the playoffs, sort of. The money is coming in on Detroit, which was my initial instinct. 63% of tickets, 88% of the cash on them. The situation does favor Detroit, and Detroit's the better team, but the problems I have, it looks too easy to play Detroit because everybody knows they're the better team, and it's basically a pick-em price here. And Kansas City wins the starting pitching matchup. That's the other issue that I have with it, is Cameron wins the pitching matchup against Melton as far as the matchup numbers. Even if you think Melton might be the better of the two pitchers, Cameron's also in better current form, looking at his last start. So that's a bit of a concern. The money's also coming in on the under pretty strongly at 8. If you're going to play the under, I would say do it in the first 5. I won't necessarily disagree with it. I kind of like both starting pitchers in general, so the under maybe makes some sense here. As far as first 5, definitely wouldn't do it for the full game, though. I still think I would lean Detroit in the full game. I don't like the matchup numbers, man. I just don't, and it still looks too easy, but the situational spot seems to favor them fairly substantially. I think I still like the Mets better, though. I think more things line up for the Mets, and I still haven't gotten to my actual plays. Maybe I'm being too selective, and maybe it's going to fuck me. This next play will be a play for me, and you know it's going to lose because the last time we had the same pitching matchup, this is Anaheim and Texas, we had the same pitching matchup like last week in Anaheim, and it was definitely an under, and I didn't give it out as a play. It was a lean for me. It wasn't a play. This time it's going to be, and that probably means it's going to lose. I mean, I've won 6 in a row, man, and I know we were in need of a bounce back, but we're not going to continue getting every single play right. But we're going to take this game under the total, Anaheim, Texas, under 7.5 at -118. You could go first 5 if you want to, and I know I don't love these two bullpens, but they're not the most disastrous bullpens, and the rest scenario is not too bad for these two bullpens, so I'm just going to take the hook on the full game, the under 7.5. Like I said, the last time these two pitchers matched up was in Anaheim, and Mackenzie Gore is pitching here, and he's way better at home than on the road, and he was still really good in that game in Anaheim. Some of it is a function of these offenses just not being good. But in that game, it was a 4-1 game. I forget which team won, but it went into extra innings, I'm pretty sure. So I think it was a 1-1 game, or it might have been 0-0, actually, at the end of 9 innings. So that was an absolute under in that game, and we don't need it to be that low scoring here to get the job done here in this one. So I'm going to actually play it this time, even though I probably should have in the last one and didn't. It looks better for an under here, even though it obviously couldn't really get better than what it was last time. Last time it was just an easy under, like one of the easiest you'll ever get. It's not going to be that easy this time, probably. I hope it is, but I think we're still going to get it. We should still get it. But now that I said all that, we're not going to get it. But, you know, Gore is just way better at home, and I think that sets this one up to be a nice underplay here. Plus, you know Texas with how they trend under at home, even though that trend has kind of waned recently. I still think it's the right way to look in this game. And yes, I wasn't too excited about the Texas under yesterday, but it happened easily yesterday. 2-0 game. Mr. Pinsey, you asked about that game. I agreed with it, and it won. If you went first 5 or full game, you won it with the under in that one yesterday. I had my concerns about it, but Texas, DeGrom definitely held up his end of the bargain there. But anyway, Texas is coming off a very low-scoring game at home. Both these teams did play yesterday, and, usually I like to look for rested bullpens, but still, Texas, they only used 3 guys out of the bullpen, although, yes, they did use Lotz, who I believe they used as a closer. But still, I think their bullpen, the rest scenario is not too bad. They're going up against a bad offense, so hopefully they can get it done here. In Anaheim, I know they're not a good bullpen, but they only use 1 guy out of the bullpen. So I'm going to do this full game. Although, like I was saying, you could go first 5 on this as well. It's mostly 3.5s, but I did see a 4, but you had to lay minus 125 for it. I'd consider maybe doing that, the under 4 at minus 125. But my hope here is that the starting pitchers are going to get us a little bit deeper into this game. And I think that's more likely with Detmers to do so than Gore here. But even if one of them does, I think that's going to help us out here. And Detmers is pitching for the team that has the lesser of the bullpens. So if it's him that gets us deeper, that is a plus. Anaheim is the 22nd ranked bullpen. Texas 20th, although the Texas ERA is worse, but they're not like the most disastrous bullpens. Like I said, like we're not looking at Washington, Colorado, Minnesota, A's, Kansas City, maybe the Reds. Like those are the ones that you really, really need to avoid. As far as the hitting, I think that helps this under as well because these teams don't hit well. Texas 22nd, Anaheim 27th. Yeah, that's not good. Not good offenses here. Reed Detmers, like I said, is pitching for Anaheim. Haven't backed him in a while, and he screwed me a few times, which pisses me off because he's a good pitcher. 3.78 ERA, 1.06 whip. He's not as good on the road, but still not too bad, although 4.19 ERA doesn't really look that good, but a 229 opponent batting average on the road, pretty good. It's just his walk rate does go up on the road, so that is something to be aware of, but he's pitching well. He just had an 8-inning shutout of Kansas City with 11 strikeouts, and he only threw 92 pitches, so he wasn't overworked in that game at all. So he pitched well in that one. He's pitching pretty well recently. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs only once in his last 6 starts. So, yeah, he's in good form right now. Got a low hit rate on the season. His walk rate's not too bad. Strikeout rate is high. All those numbers are good. Nice strikeout per 9. Actually, the best that he's had in his career. Nice strikeout walk ratio, best in his career. I always do that. The strikeout per 9 is actually a little bit lower than the last couple seasons, but he is still a very good strikeout pitcher. And he's going up against a Texas offense here that does not do too well against him in 94 at bats. So we have a big sample here. 191 average, 652 OPS, 39-10 strikeout walk ratio. It's a lot of strikeouts. So even though the walk number looks a little bit high, it's still not a bad ratio there at all. So those are pretty good numbers from Detmers against Texas. Texas is going with Mackenzie Gore. I think he's a decent pitcher. He's got decent strikeout stuff. His problem is always just he's too wild. He's got a 4.45 ERA, 1.26 whip. He is good at home, though. 3.27 home ERAs. It's more than 2 runs better. So that was one of the things I was worried about him on the road. Still pitched really well in that start on the road there against Anaheim last time. But he's better at home. He went only 5 1/3 in that one, but he only allowed 1 run, and it was a 4-1 win in 10 innings for Texas in that one. Gore, I mean, he's not going that deep into these outings, which might worry me a little bit, but he's not allowing that many runs, so I think he can kind of hold down the fort here in this one. He's got a low hit rate. Again, his walk rate is the one main issue with him. It's a bad walk number, but he does strike out a lot of guys too, so that's keeping his strikeout walk ratio in a decent at a decent number there at 3. I think pitching in Texas helps him out a little bit too. Strikeout per 9 is pretty good, although it's gone down a little bit this year, but it's almost 10, so that's still pretty good. And Gore against Anaheim, they're a weak offense, dude, and I believe they do not do well against Gore. Gore has the upper hand against them in 77 at-bats, 234 average, 652 OPS, 24-9 strikeout walk ratio isn't exactly that good. Gore, again, kind of walking too many guys, but still he has the upper hand in this matchup. And if you're wondering, Detmers in that start, that last time these two pitchers faced off against each other in what was a pitching duel. Detmers went 6 innings in that one, although he walked 4 guys, which is a little concerning, but he only allowed 1 run on 3 hits, so he was still pretty good in that one. We're taking this one under. I believe the money agrees with me on this. Where is it? Let me see. Yeah, we have 55% of tickets, 66% of the cash on the under. 7.5 is the number here. I found it at a decent price. Again, if you wanted to go first 5, I'm not going to disagree with that. And usually I do want to exclude Anaheim's bullpen, and Texas's bullpen has really disappointed me this year. But in this particular matchup, this particular spot with the bullpen rest scenario not really being that bad, I'll extend it to the full game. Hope the pitchers may go a little bit deeper than we need them to here, and also roll with some bad offenses here to help us out. And we get the hook on that full game. So let's go under 7.5 full game there. All right, I'm going to be right back. I do have one more play here, and I will talk about WNBA and preseason as well. This show is taking way longer than I wanted it to. I'll be right back. Yep, inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. With I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. All right. Next game is Cleveland, Colorado. Like I said, Cleveland getting some weak opponents here, but this is in Colorado. Colorado also has a rest advantage here, and they're staying at home. They just got swept by the Dodgers at home. So they do have a rest edge. Is that going to be enough? Maybe not, because they suck. Cleveland did have to use some relief pitchers yesterday. They used 4 guys out of the bullpen. So Cleveland's bullpen, they use their closer as well, I believe. Cleveland, yeah, their bullpen is in worse rest shape. They are starting a road trip here, having to go out into elevation. May not be the easiest spot for them. They did just beat the Giants at home. So, yeah, rest edge for Colorado, but I don't really think I want to come in and try to back Colorado here. Cleveland bullpen is better than Colorado, even with the rest disadvantage. Probably they still are better. They're 17th. They're not a horrible bullpen. Colorado is. Colorado's 27th. Offensively, Colorado is the better team. They're 5th, and Cleveland dead last, 30th. Cleveland, has really struggled offensively. Cleveland will have the starting pitching edge here with Joey Cantillo. He's a decent strikeout pitcher, although he does walk too many guys. 3.8 ERA, 1.44 whip is pretty high, though. And he's not as good on the road, 4.02 road ERA. That would be a little bit concerning here. He's pitching all right recently. Decent strikeout numbers from him here. His hit rate is okay. His walk rate is too high, like I said. Strikeout rate is pretty good, so that's what you get out of him. Recent form is interesting. There was one game where I don't know what happened. Rain shortened or something. Really went 1 inning against the White Sox. But his other 2 starts, or other few starts recently, have all been okay. Again, his whip is too high, though. Just the walks are just way too high. It's dragging his strikeout walk ratio down. His strikeouts per 9 are good, though, at 10. So, again, he is a good strikeout pitcher, but he walks too many. Cantillo against Colorado. Only Willie Castro has ever faced him, and he's 0 for 4 with a strikeout and a walk against him. The other thing you do have to worry about is he a fly ball pitcher? And he's not really that extreme a fly ball pitcher, so maybe that'll help him out here. He did pitch in the A's stadium earlier this year, which is a hitter-friendly park, and he did not do particularly well in that start, mostly because he was wild, though. So I don't think the pitching in Coors Field is that bad for Cantillo's style, but I don't know if I fully want to trust him here. Colorado's going with Tanner Gordon, although they might be going with some sort of bullpen game here because he's kind of been a relief pitcher. So I would say if you're going to play this game, you might want to pick Cantillo must start and not pick a starter for Colorado because who knows. Gordon has a 5.55 ERA, 1.44 whip. He's really bad in Coors Field, 7.82 ERA at home. Not good. He's been basically getting a starter's workload recently, and Colorado's lost the last 5 games he's pitched in, which is not really that surprising. Overall, yeah, I mean, he doesn't really walk too many guys, but his numbers are not great. He's very hittable, and he allows a lot of fly balls and a lot of home runs, so that obviously doesn't translate well into Coors Field. He's too hittable by far. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, at least. His strikeout rate is okay, but he's kind of going out there and serving up batting practice, man, which is not good, even though his strikeout walk ratio looks good. So the advanced analytics guys should be like, oh, yeah, man, this guy's actually pretty good. But no, they probably are also seeing that he's given up so many hits that it's not good. And his strikeout per 9 is actually not that good. It's just that his walk rate is really, really low. But again, he's just putting pitches over the plate and getting hammered. Gordon probably does not have too much experience against Cleveland, let me say. They have 12 at-bats, 5 hitters have faced him. They have a 500 average, 1205 OPS. And yes, I did look at all this earlier. I just forget. But yeah, 1205 OPS, that is high. Small sample size, though. 1-1 strikeout walk ratio. You know, I mean, Colorado has the rest edge. Cleveland should probably still win the game, but they're like minus 150 here. I wouldn't want to do it. Cleveland's a bit public, too, because everybody kind of knows Cleveland needs to win to stay in the wild card hunt here. 83% of tickets, 86% of the cash on Cleveland. They're a public side. I mean, you could, I guess, maybe look towards an over. Total's at 10.5, so it is below that key number of 11. It's a Coors Field total. Money is definitely coming in on the over, but Cantillo might actually pitch well here, so I don't know, man. I would worry about it a little bit. You could go... Oh, man. Would you really want to go Cleveland over their team total, though? A team that can't hit at all? I don't know, man. We'll see what Cleveland can do offensively in this Colorado series, but yeah, I don't have a good read on that one. Cincinnati and Arizona, this is kind of the battle of the advanced analytics hatred, because those guys hate both pitchers in this game. Arizona beat the Red Sox to finish their road trip after losing that series. They're coming back home from a road trip. They were off yesterday, I believe. Yeah, so Arizona has a rest advantage here, but the problem is they have a disadvantage because they're returning from the East Coast, so it's not a great spot for them, having to readjust to a late night time and having to play late night baseball again, so it might mess with their biological clock, plus the return home spot tends to be a distracted spot, not really that good, and they might overlook a team like Cincinnati that's going nowhere. However, Cincinnati played yesterday against St. Louis, so they were involved in a divisional battle, and it was a tough game where a lot of runs came home in that game. So Cincinnati's not exactly in the greatest spot here, and they're also having to travel from the central time zone, in their case, out to the, whatever time zone Arizona's in, but they're playing a game that's almost the latest that you could be at. Not quite the late games, but still not great. So I don't know. Neither team is really in a great spot here. Cincinnati has the worst bullpen here. They used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Arizona was off. Arizona's the number 7 bullpen, although I don't think they're that good. They're better than Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 25th. Offensively, Arizona, I think, ranks a little bit higher as well. Yeah, they're 18th, and they're playing better recently. Cincinnati, 25th, so Arizona does have the better offense as well. Arizona probably has the better starting pitcher, too. Nick Lodolo's pitching for the Reds. Not really very good. 4.52 ERA, 1.42 whip. Pitched a bit better than this. I think really kind of throughout his career he's been better than this, but this year he's had some issues. I think he's had some injuries and some blister issues. I don't know what's going on with him. He's a little bit better on the road, though. 4.21 road ERA. Was decent in his last start against Miami, at least. Still, I wouldn't say he's necessarily in great form here. His start before that was pretty ugly against the White Sox, although you could argue that most of his recent appearances have actually been more good than bad, so at least there is that. His hit rate is still too high. He doesn't really walk that many guys. Strikeout rate is kind of low, though. Not really a whole lot to love here. Strikeout walk ratio is still pretty low, given that it's kind of a mediocre walk rate and not a great strikeout rate. His strikeout rate's way down this year, actually. He used to strike out way more guys. So it seems like his stuff isn't really there right now, so I don't know what's going on with him. His numbers against Arizona are actually pretty good, though. 40 at-bats, 200 average, 589 OPS, 9-1 strikeout walk ratio. So he does have good matchup numbers here. The question is Luzardo going to return to some sort of form like he has been like he's looked in the past? He's not that old. So I don't know, man. And then Erod is pitching for Arizona. Eduardo Rodriguez. He's been good on the season, 2.71 ERA, 1.21 whip does indicate his ERA should be higher, though. And the advanced analytics guys hate this because he's not striking guys out, so they keep expecting regression, and he keeps still pitching decently. He's a little bit worse at home ERA-wise, but his opponent batting average is better at home, so not really a lot to take away from that. Last two starts are both pretty good. He's got a really good command ratio this month, 18-2 and 18 2/3 innings. That's pretty good. That's the strikeout walk ratio. He's been too hittable this month, but most of his recent starts have been pretty good. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all but 2 starts going back to the beginning of July. Through that, going all the way back, I would say, going all the way back to early June. That's been the case. Although the 2 starts that weren't those good ones were both pretty bad, though. His hit rate is actually pretty low on the season. It's not bad. His walk rate isn't really too bad either, but his strikeout rate is low. So he doesn't have his strikeout stuff anymore. His strikeout walk ratio is not great because the strikeout rate is so low and the walk rate is kind of okay. His strikeout per 9 is way down, which is kind of what the advanced analytics guys are talking about. It's the lowest that it's been in his career by far. So his strikeout stuff just isn't really there anymore. However, he is good against the Reds, and their offense is not very good. 51 at-bats, 216 average, 644 OPS, 13-7 strikeout walk ratio. The only problem there really is the walks. It kind of sounds insane, and I don't really want to do it, but given the matchup numbers being that good and the market agreeing with this, I would say first 5 under in this one. I don't want to deal with the Reds bullpen here, but totals at 8.5. You'll probably get a 4 or 4.5 here in the first 5, which is pretty reasonable. Although we are looking at a hitter-friendly park here, and the advanced analytics guys are waiting for these, waiting for Erod to implode, and they don't like Lodolo. And it looks like there's kind of something wrong with both pitchers, to be honest. They're both having their worst season of their career, kind of, as far as some of their numbers look. Although Erod, his numbers, like the ERA and whatever, are some of his best, but his advanced analytics numbers are like some of the worst that we've seen out of him. It's insane. It's so hard to figure these guys out. But yeah, I think if I was going to play this game, I would play the first 5 under, though, and just go with the pitchers to actually do well enough in this one. I don't want to do it. Seems too risky, but 72% of tickets on the over, 57% of the cash on the under. Of course, you got to take risks when you're doing this, but the goal is to, I think, find the more risk-averse plays, let's say, the ones that are at least kind of more predictable in a way. But now that I've said that, we're going to have a losing day today, man. Anyway, 72% of the cash on the over, 57% of the cash on the under in that one. Money's seemingly indicating on Arizona a little bit, but they're public as well. 80% of tickets, 87% of the cash on them. And everybody's going to see Erod as the better ERA. And everybody knows that Arizona's trying to make the playoffs here. They're in the wild card race, and Cincinnati is not really. So that's being factored into the line here and jacking up the line on Arizona a little bit. They're about minus 150 here. I don't have a good read on the side, really. I don't think I'd want to play the Reds, though. Erod is still the better of the pitchers. Arizona does have the rest edge, but Arizona returning home from a road trip is not something I'm interested in either. All right, Minnesota and San Diego. San Diego is returning home from a road trip, so that's a negative. I believe both teams were off yesterday, but San Diego's returning home from the East Coast. So, I talk about that returning from a road trip in general is bad because you got to get back to home life, whatever. Although both these teams are fighting for wild card positioning right now. San Diego having to adjust to the Pacific time zone as well. Maybe not the greatest thing, biological clock-wise. Minnesota has to do that too, but they're coming from the Central time zone. And however, they might be in a letdown spot because they just swept the Braves. So I don't really love the spot that Minnesota's in. Although it's still better than San Diego's because San Diego's still in the return home spot. San Diego does have the better bullpen, obviously. They're one of the best. Better than that. Minnesota 28th. They're definitely not a good bullpen. Minnesota's the better offense. They're 10th, tied with Houston, although we're looking at a pitcher-friendly park here. San Diego is 23rd. They've been hitting a little bit better recently. Connor Prelip is pitching for Minnesota here. He's had some struggles. I think he's a rookie this year. He's better than his 5.34 ERA makes him look, but 1.38 whip is still not very good. He's way worse on the road, 6.15 road ERA. With an over 300 opponent batting average on the road. That's not good. His last home start, he got shelled by Philly. Minnesota's lost his last 3 starts, and he hasn't really been particularly good in any of them. He's walking too many guys, so Prelip is not in good form right now. He's got good strikeout stuff. His hit rate is mediocre. His walk rate's a little bit too high. The strikeouts are there, so if he can fix his command and stuff, he might wind up being a good pitcher, but right now, the walks are his biggest concern. His strikeout rate is good, so he can fool guys at the major league level at least. Strikeout walk ratio is still not great because of the walks. Strikeout per 9 is pretty good, though. Prelip against San Diego, they basically haven't seen him. Rengifo is 0 for 3 off him with 2 strikeouts. Nobody else in this lineup has faced him. And Randy Vasquez is on the other side for San Diego. He's no good. 4.3 ERA, 1.38 whip, not very good. So both pitchers have pretty bad whips here. Vasquez, for whatever reason, doesn't do well in San Diego, even though it's a pitcher-friendly ballpark. 4.78 ERA here, 284 opponent batting average. That is not good. He's worse at home. He doesn't really strike out a lot of guys, even though he's not allowing that many runs recently. Don't be fooled because he doesn't strike guys out. A lot of times he walks too many guys, even though he's gotten the walk rate down again recently. He doesn't go too deep into his starts. He's very hittable. He's allowed way too many hits. His walk rate is just okay. It's better than it usually is, at least. Strikeout rate is quite low, though. So strikeout walk ratio is ugly, although actually his walk rate's lower than it usually is, so that's a good thing, I guess, but he still doesn't strike anybody out. His strikeout per 9 is very low. Strikeout walk ratio is still bad. Advanced analytics guys definitely don't think he's good. His numbers against Minnesota, only Josh Bell has ever faced him. He's 1 for 2 with a home run, though. No strikeouts, no walks. I don't trust either pitcher here, man. I'm thinking maybe the over is the better way to look at this one, but with both offenses getting the rest yesterday, that might throw off the offenses a little bit, so I don't really want to do that. And the return home could kind of throw off the offenses too, but the market read isn't very strong on either the total or the side here. 86% of tickets, 88% of the cash on the over, so it's a public over. The total's at 8, but I think if I was forced to give a play on this, I would probably say the over. 89% of tickets, 92% of the cash on San Diego. They're a small favorite, down from minus 148 all the way down to minus 116. They might have switched pitchers. Maybe that's why the number looks like it does, or why it moved like that, because the money didn't do that. I think they must have had another starter scheduled, and then they switched to Vasquez. That would definitely knock the line down on San Diego, because Vasquez is not good. San Diego public, 89% of tickets, 92% of the cash on them. It's a return home spot, so I would not want San Diego. Although Prelip is in kind of the worst form here, but Prelip has the higher ceiling out of the two pitchers, and San Diego in the return home spot. I guess maybe you could lean Minnesota first 5 here. Obviously, exclude their bullpen, but I don't want to do it. Next game up is my last play. And I think I'm going against the market read here. I am playing on a team that is having to go out to the Pacific Coast, so we have to worry about that a little bit. Although I think that's going to affect both teams a little bit here. But we're going to play the Chicago Cubs against Seattle here, man. I don't like the spot for Seattle for a number of reasons here. Seattle's returning home from a long road trip, but they went to New York to play the Yankees, then Houston, then Milwaukee. They played some teams that are all in the playoff races there. Big series. Now they're returning home from all that. It's the longest road trip return, I think, out of any team today. So you know me, I like to fade teams returning home from road trips, even though they are facing the Cubs, who are a good team. They might get up for it still, but it's a bad spot, man, returning home from the road like that. You got to get back to family life. Might be a distraction. They're calling up the top pitching prospect in baseball, Anderson. They actually brought him up from Double-A, and I guess there's something where the Mariners, I guess, have their pitchers skip Triple-A, Skip-A, because I guess Nipple-A, I guess their Triple-A park is at some high elevation, so they skip it. It doesn't make any sense to me, man, and I think their Double-A team is actually in Arkansas or something like that. I don't know, man, but they're calling him up. He's got really good numbers in Double-A, but, you know, going from Double-A directly to the major, he's not pitching today, by the way. I'm just saying, it makes no sense to me to make this call up. Like, I would have at least had him pitch in Triple-A a little bit, because if you're pitching in that bad elevation environment, going from there to then Seattle should be a bit of a relief, you know what I mean? And you get to at least face Triple-A competition. So I don't know. I don't know if I love this move. Plus, the Mariners, what are their main issues? Their issues are hitting and bullpen. The hitting has been awful, and their bullpen hasn't been that good either. They're starting pitching. They have one of the best rotations in baseball. Oh, let's call up a starting pitcher. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't get it, man. However, I will say that the guy who's pitching that we're fading here in this game today is going to be the guy that loses his spot in the rotation if Anderson is going to join the rotation. I don't know if he will, or if the Mariners might have him in the bullpen, or they might do like a 6-man thing. So we'll see. But yeah, that might motivate Hancock in this game a little bit, because I think if the Mariners are going to remove one guy from their rotation, it's going to be him, right? Because it's not going to be Gilbert, who's probably their best pitcher right now. It's not going to be Wu, who's borderline elite, even though he struggled on the road this year. Kirby is kind of a staple of the rotation, even though I don't think he's that good, but I don't think they're going to take him out of the rotation either. And then who else is in their rotation? Bryce Miller. Yeah, they're obviously not. They're obviously not taking him out either. So Miller's been one of their best pitchers. So yeah, so it would be Hancock, but whatever. It's an interesting scenario, but still, I don't like the spot for Seattle. They are going from Central to Pacific, so they're having to adjust their biological clocks the same as Chicago does. So that's a wash, right? So even though, yes, both teams are going to have to adjust their biological clocks here, I think the spot sets up a lot better for Chicago. The Cubs had yesterday off, and the Mariners didn't, so that's another advantage to the Cubs here. So that's why I like this. You're fading a team returning home from a road trip, which is a negative, and Seattle used 3 relief pitchers yesterday while the Cubs were off. So that means the Cubs have a little bit more time to adjust to the time zone as well. So I think it's a bigger negative for the Mariners all around, man. They're making basically the same travel. Mariners are coming from Milwaukee. Cubs are coming from Chicago here. Both having to adjust to the late night time here. Mariners had to play yesterday. Cubs did not. Cubs starting a road trip is usually a focus spot, especially after they got shut out at home. So that's another reason why I like the Cubs. You know what I talked about earlier in the show? A team that just got shut out at home a lot of times will bounce back and do better in their next game. So I like that for the Cubs. Usually the first game of a road trip is a focus spot here. So even though the Cubs are kind of just sitting there with not a whole lot of movement possible here for the Cubs, they're very likely to wind up in second place in the NL Central and wind up in the, I believe, the top wild card spot, yes, in the National League. The Cubs are sitting pretty there, and yes, I know Seattle is desperate right now. I get that, and they lost yesterday. We played Seattle 2 days ago and got the win with that one. Seattle is in desperation mode now. I get that, but this is not a good spot for them, and it's not a good pitching matchup for them either. And I think the Cubs have the better bullpen at this point. They're ranked 13th in bullpen. The Mariners have struggled. They're 19th, so I think we'll get a bullpen edge here, especially given the rest scenario here. Offensively, the Cubs are without a doubt way better. They're number 3. Seattle's number 28, tied with the Blue Jays. Very bad. Although, yes, this is a pitcher-friendly park here, but still better offense against the worse offense here. And we're going to back Matthew Boyd here for the Cubs. I backed him once recently, and he did get a win in that one. Maybe this is a spot to back him again, man, even though he's been kind of mediocre. 4.02 ERA, 1.24 whip. He's had a little bit of a shortened season because of some injuries. But for whatever reason, he's way better on the road anyway. And this is going to be a very pitcher-friendly road ballpark here. 2.57 road ERA. So, yeah, he's definitely better on the road this year. I think we can back him on the road. He was awful last time out against St. Louis. There's no question about that. He allowed a ton of home runs there. His home run rate's been bad recently, but that last start was at home. His last road start was pretty good at Kansas City, although he walked too many guys there. Start before that was at home, and he was mediocre against the Dodgers, I would say. That St. Louis one, I'm going to give him a pass for it, though, because St. Louis had just seen him recently, and he blew them away on the road, and he was pitching really well throughout the month of July. So I don't know what's going on with him in August right now, but I think if he's going to bounce back and get out of this funk, which really is just one game here against a team that had just seen him, it's going to be something like this, where he gets to pitch against a very bad offense in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. So I think it sets up nicely for Boyd to bounce back here, especially given that he's way better on the road this year, and you know what's coming here. He's good against Seattle. In 31 career at-bats, they only have one extra base hit, which is a home run from Big Dumper, who has the only dumping he's been doing recently is all over the field because he's been god-awful. He went from MVP caliber last year, 60 home run man, home run derby winner as well, to absolute disaster. I have no idea what the deal is there, but whatever. Overall, Mariners have a 226 average, 617 OPS, 9-3 strikeout walk ratio against Boyd. So I like how Boyd matches up here. Also, his overall numbers this season are not too bad, except his strikeout rate going down is concerning, but he has a low hit rate. He doesn't really walk many guys. The strikeout rate is a bit of an issue, though, so I don't know what's going on with him there. His strikeout walk ratio is still okay, but it's not as good as it was the last couple of years. So something, I don't know what's going on with it. He's got to figure something out because his strikeout per 9 has gone down a bit, but I still like him in this spot. So I say we back Boyd here and we fade the Mariners in a bad spot, and we fade Emerson Hancock, even though he's had a decent season, which is another reason why I was like, why are they calling up Anderson when the first man out of the rotation is going to be Hancock, and he's got a 3.3 ERA, 1.11 whip, and he's at least got experience over Anderson. So I don't know what the Mariners are doing, man. They're making desperation moves here. Hancock's been good at home. There's no doubt about that. His overall numbers are good, and he's got a 3.13 home ERA. He is in better form than Boyd right now as well, because his last start was pretty good at Houston. Although his start before that really wasn't good against Tampa Bay. He gave up a lot of hits, and he got kind of lucky to escape that, only allowing 2 runs. Was only mediocre against Detroit before that, so his last start was good, but prior to that, he wasn't really pitching that well. His hit rate is pretty good. His walk rate is pretty good. His strikeout rate is okay, so he does have decent numbers here. His strikeout walk ratio is by far the best that it's been in his career. So he is having a career year here in a way, and his strikeout per 9 has gone way up. So he's figured out how to strike guys out to some extent. However, he's going up against a really good Cub lineup here, and the Cubs have been able to get to him in 32 at-bats, 250 average, 991 OPS. Cubs have 4 home runs off him. So the Cubs have been able to get to him a bit. 7-1 strikeout walk ratio. I don't think the market's agreeing with me on this, and this is mostly about the spot, but I say we do it. I say we play the Cubs. I think we get the better matchup numbers also on the side of Boyd here. The money is agreeing with me now, actually, so there you go. 65% of tickets, 82% of the cash on the Cubs. That's why sometimes you got to stick with your handicapping to some extent and then use this just as kind of like a check. You know what I mean? And sometimes I will still just fade these market reads, but I love seeing the market read come into line with what I'm thinking, because that means the professional money is agreeing with me. The line kind of flipped to Seattle being a slight favorite here, but you'll get a price around this on the Cubs. I say we do it. 65% of tickets, 82% of the cash on the Cubs. The money's also strongly backing the over 8 here, which I could see that. I mean, it's not really an elite pitching matchup here, so maybe, but I don't love overs in Seattle, obviously, because it's a pitcher-friendly park. But yeah, Cubs will be my play there. And then we have one more game. This is a long fucking show. Not happy about this. The last game is Pittsburgh and the Dodgers. They both were off yesterday. The Dodgers are returning home, but only from a series in Colorado. They swept. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal there. They're not returning home from a long road trip, so I don't consider it to be a really negative spot for them necessarily. And it's going to be an easier time adjustment going from Mountain Time to Pacific Time, whereas Pittsburgh is having to come in from, I believe, the Eastern Time zone here. That's not good going east to west. So Pittsburgh's going to have to do a bigger biological clock shift here. So that's a negative for Pittsburgh. Plus, they're going to be looking at a pitching matchup that definitely favors the Dodgers here. Dodgers, bullpen-wise, neither bullpen got used yesterday. What am I saying? Both teams are off. Dodgers bullpen is number 11. They're not great, but Pittsburgh is worse at 23rd. So you're looking at two kind of mediocre bullpens, I would say. The Dodgers offensively are number 1. Again, not surprising there. Pittsburgh is pretty good as well at 4th, although Pittsburgh's not good at hitting on the road. And believe it or not, the Dodgers are not as good at hitting at home. So there might be some room for maybe looking towards unders in the series. I don't think I'd want to do it here, though, mostly because Bubba Chandler is pitching for Pittsburgh. And even though he is pitching fairly well right now, and at the end of last season, he was really good for his last few starts. And I think he will be good at some point. He has good strikeout stuff. His walk numbers are still very concerning, so I still worry about that. 4.23 ERA for him, 1.37 whip is not really that good. He's basically the same home and away. He has a worse home ERA by a little bit, but his opponent batting average on the road is a little bit better. Not a lot to take away from that. He was pretty good against the Red Sox last time out. Pittsburgh has won his last 3 starts. He's been pretty good in all 3 of them, but he's still kind of walking guys here, which is definitely an issue, and that's been his main issue throughout his career so far. He doesn't allow that many hits. He walks too many, and his strikeout rate is actually kind of low for what I thought that it was going to be. I think last year his strikeout rate was a little bit better. Last year, actually, that's kind of weird. Last year, he actually didn't really walk anybody. I don't know what I was thinking. Last year, he was good last year. He basically didn't walk anybody, so maybe that was a bit of a mirage because he didn't pitch that many innings last year. But yeah, this year, the walks have been a major issue for him. His strikeout per 9 is a little bit lower this year. Like I said, I think his strikeout rate has gone down a little bit this year from what I thought it was going to be. I thought he was a better strikeout pitcher than this. But yeah, his strikeout walk ratio is way worse this year than it was last year, and it's because of the walks. So he's got to figure that out. His numbers against the Dodgers are not good, although they only have 12 at-bats against him. 6 hitters have faced him. 417 average, 1333 OPS, 1 strikeout, no walks. So Chandler hasn't really been that good against the Dodgers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is pitching for the Dodgers. He's obviously the more established and better starter here. 2.6 ERA, 0.89 whip is really good. He's a little bit worse at home, 3.14 home ERA, but still a below 200 opponent batting average at home. He's still pitching well right now. I mean, I don't think there are too many concerns with him here. Generally, he's going to pitch well when he goes out there. He has a really low hit rate. He doesn't really walk many guys either. Strikes out a decent amount of guys. So his strikeout walk ratio is pretty good. Strikeout per 9 is actually lower this year than it was the last 2 years, interestingly. So his strikeout stuff is kind of diminished a little bit, which is a little bit weird, but he's still pitching quite well. His numbers against the Pirates are pretty good in 15 at-bats. Small sample again, though. 6 hitters have faced him, but they have no extra base hits. 200 average, 450 OPS, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. So the Dodgers seem to set up better in this game, in my opinion. Money's fading them. 94% of tickets, 90% of the cash on them. They drop from minus 240 all the way down to about minus 220 here. So some money is playing Pittsburgh here. I don't think I like it. I think the Dodgers do have the matchup edge here. I don't think it's that bad of a return home spot or anything like that. I think the Dodgers might be still the way to look here. But if you do that, you got to lay the run line, and you're going against the market read. So I don't really want to do that. The money is also coming in on the over 8 here. I'm not so sure about that either. Good pitching usually beats good hitting, and I think you will have good pitching on the one side with the Dodgers. I don't know about Pittsburgh with Chandler, though. But if it's going to be an over and you think the Dodgers are going to win, I guess you could consider Dodgers over their team total. And they're facing the weaker of the pitchers here, who hasn't really been that good against them. But I don't know, man, because I think the Dodgers in the return home spot with a day off, their offense might be a little bit cooled off. And if you do play them over their team total, I think you're going to need them to get to 6 probably, which is a bit of a tall order, so I don't really want to do it. I mean, it's not the type of game that I am interested in. All right, WNBA, Minnesota, Washington. Interesting matchup here. Minnesota is not favored by that much, but I will say it's because Collier is getting a rest game here, and Olivia Miles is actually hurt, but it looks like she is probable. So Miles is playing in this game. She is Minnesota's rookie, who's definitely going to win Rookie of the Year. Collier, who's one of the best players in basketball, in women's basketball, excuse me. She's getting a rest day for Minnesota, so that's why they were initially going to be a 6.5-point favorite, and now they're a 2.5-point favorite. That's because Collier is out. So I don't really want to try to fade Minnesota at that lower price. Like, I was thinking maybe Washington here, and the money agrees with it. 77% of tickets on Minnesota, 57% of the cash on Washington. You have a really low total in this game at 160. Both these first two games both have low totals, 164.5. You know, I like to look towards underdogs with low totals because the points are worth more, and Washington is a good defense. So getting a good defense at home, getting points, I do like that type of scenario, but getting fewer points now because Collier is going to be out, it's possible the line overreacted a little bit to that, and maybe Minnesota will step up a little bit more. So I don't really love that, although I don't necessarily love the spot for Minnesota here. You know, I still think it's kind of a negative spot for them. They're on fire. I mean, everybody knows they're the best team in the league, whatever. They just beat Vegas and then followed that up with a win over Golden State, where I thought Golden State had a good chance to win that game, and that didn't happen. Now Minnesota's having to travel all the way across the country to finish this road trip in Washington, and then they play Golden State again when they come back home. So it is kind of a sandwich spot here. So I don't love the spot for Minnesota coming off two big wins, and then they have that other big game coming up against Golden State. So I was thinking Washington might be a play here, and the market read agrees with it. It's just I don't want to do it at the lower number, you know what I mean, with Collier being out here. I'm just going to stay on the sidelines for it, man. Another day where I'm not going to have a WNBA play. It just is what it is. But if you force me, I would still say I guess I would take the points with Washington here. But you could have gotten 3.5 this morning, and now it's like 2.5. I don't know. I don't love it. Washington is in the better spot, though. Washington's staying at home. They just beat Toronto. Who cares? So the spot is better for Washington for sure. Golden State at Chicago. Chicago just beat the Liberty in a return home spot nonetheless. So Chicago is coming off a big game. And while I don't think they're going to overlook Golden State, but that was a big win for them over New York. And they do have Indiana next too, which is always big because they get a lot of hype and it's a national TV game on NBC. So, I don't know, man. I don't love the spot for Chicago, even though they shouldn't overlook Golden State. But I don't want to play on them after coming off an upset win over New York. And with Indiana next, potentially maybe being a bigger game in their minds. I don't know, man. So, I don't necessarily love that. I don't love the spot for Golden State, really, either. Because they just lost a win streak. And they're in a Minnesota sandwich. They're in a Juicy Lucy, which sounds way worse when it's in a women's sport. Gross. Unless it's beach volleyball, then give me all the Juicy Lucies. Juicy Lucy, that's, that describes beach volleyball women's asses, actually. Golden State they lost I'm still in baseball mode. They lost a 6-game win streak. And you know I talk about this. When a team loses a win streak, especially in a big game like that against Minnesota, although the game wasn't really close. They didn't come close to winning it, but still, they lost a 6-game win streak in a big game, and a lot of times that will hang you over into the next game. And while they are starting a road trip, which usually is a focus spot, they play Minnesota again next. Like I said, it's a Minnesota sandwich. It's a much bigger game up next. So it's a bad spot for Golden State. It's a sandwich spot plus a potential hangover off of losing the win streak. I can't really get on board with Chicago after they beat New York, but Chicago would be the only way I'd be able to play this, though. I think it's a worse spot for Golden State, and having to travel here while Chicago stays at home. Golden State, 6.5-point favorite here, or it looks like some books have about a 6 here. They're very public, 91% of tickets, 90% of the cash on them. Golden State, also more of a defensive team than an offensive team, in my opinion. And the odds makers tell you that. The total's even lower in this game at 163.5, 162.5. So again, taking points with the home team makes a lot of sense with a low total like that, especially when you're getting a lot of points like that, 6.5. And the team that you're fading is more of a defensive team and on the road. I like Chicago in that one, but I can't do it. I don't really love the spot for either team. The money is playing the over for whatever that's worth. And sometimes that is the way to look when two teams might have issues focusing or might have some issues with defensive fatigue. So maybe, but yeah, I would play Chicago in this one. if I was going to play it, taking the points there. And again, you're fading the public again in that one. Now it's 94% of tickets, 88% of the cash on Golden State. And then we have the ugly matchup of the two expansion teams, Portland and Toronto. And it looks too easy to play Portland. Portland's a favorite, even though they're on the road. So the odds maker's telling you Portland is the better of these two teams, but they have a better record by enough that it looks way too easy to play Portland, in my opinion. Toronto's playing really, really poorly, though. They've lost, I don't know how many games in a row this is at this point. 12. They've lost 12 games in a row. And they just went to Washington. Now they're coming back home again. They're playing a third game in 4 days, though. That's really difficult to do with travel between every game. They did lose in Portland not too long ago. And they played Portland otherwise. They lost at home to Portland earlier this year. I think those are the only two. I think they're 0-2 against Portland this year. But even though they might get up for this, and Portland might overlook them, right? Because Portland's already beaten Toronto twice. Toronto's been awful recently. But I don't want to play on a team that's playing their third game in 4 days, man, which is a rarity in the WNBA. I don't want to do it. Portland is playing better basketball right now. However, I think maybe they look a little bit better than they really are. Their defense still sucks. Both of these defenses suck. Portland's won 4 of their last 5 games, but those wins were against Toronto, Seattle twice, and then Phoenix was the best win they had, which was their last game. But they're also way more rested. They've haven't played since Sunday, so Portland has a huge rest edge here, and that's part of the reason why they're favored by as much as they are. Oh, God. This is just such an ugly game, dude. It looks way too easy to play Portland. They got 75% of tickets, 90% of the cash on them. They're at 2.5. I think I would lean Toronto, but oh, God. I mean, they have such a rest disadvantage. I don't want to do it, man, even though nobody's going to want them. It looks way too easy to play Portland. I think Portland looks better than they really are because their wins recently have mostly been against bad teams. It is a little bit of a revenge spot for Toronto, if that means anything. It might at least mean Portland might overlook them a little bit. Portland is playing Washington next, which is a better team at least. So maybe they do look ahead to that a little bit. But yeah, I can't do it, but maybe slightly into Toronto here for me. I mean, it looks like the type of game that should be an over, but the total has crashed from 186.5 down to 182.5. Odds makers are onto it. I mean, they know these are two bad defenses, and these two teams are going nowhere as we play out the stretch here. We're getting close to the end of the season, WNBA. So the odds makers kind of know this is going to be more of a scrimmage type of game. I mean, it's two bad teams that are going nowhere, and they don't have good defenses. So usually that's the type of game that's going to result in an over. But the total has dropped, and the money looks like it is actually indicating on the under here. I don't know about that. I mean, I would slightly lean over there, but yeah, I don't have a good feel for it, and that is it for the WNBA. And we have some NFL stuff. Raiders pulled that win out of their ass yesterday, and they should have won more easily, in my opinion. I mean, if you saw early in the game, Houston scored immediately, but then Vegas was driving with no problem at all. Driving down the field, and then Mendoza threw a pick 6 in the red zone. It was going to be at worst, it was going to be a 7-3 Houston lead over Vegas. If Vegas was at least going to score a field goal, probably they were going to score a touchdown the way they were going. Instead, they throw it back the other way, and now all of a sudden, what would have been maybe a 7-7 game is now 14-0. Yeah, so whatever. And they still wound up winning anyway. The late night game I was way off on. San Francisco scored a shit ton, and I guess it was because of their I don't know. They decided to roll out their other quarterbacks and see what they have with their other quarterbacks. It's really hard to figure out what these teams are going to do here, man. And some of these quarterbacks have already gotten injured, too. I think one of the quarterbacks on the teams last night, I think, got injured, like, for the season already. I forget who it was. If it was one of the Raiders QBs, let me see. No. I don't even know who it was. It must have been one of Houston's QBs. I'm just looking real quick because I want to refresh my memory. Yeah, it was Graham Mertz. That's right. He tore his ACL or something. Absolutely ridiculous when they were trying to see what they had out of him. But yeah, whatever. So anyway, tonight's games, we have NFL Network doubleheader. The first game is Jets and Steelers. I mean, whatever, I guess. The Steelers won their first game in a blowout of the Packers, which I was right about that. I like the Steelers to come out with some energy because the Steelers have a new coach, and usually the teams with a new coach play better. in that first preseason game. In this game, I don't know. I mean, the Steelers seem to really like Drew Aller. I never liked him when he was at Penn State, but maybe it was the system at Penn State, and that's why they fired James Franklin. Maybe a little bit of a preview for my college football preview that I'm going to do soon. But Drew Aller might get to this game. Will Howard is still young, so the Steelers might unleash this offense a little bit because they might just want to see more of what they have with these guys. Mason Rudolph has the experience. Rodgers, I don't expect to get in this game, but we'll see. Rudolph at least has some experience. For the Jets, I mean, I don't know how seriously they're going to be taking this thing. They don't even have a new coach. Aaron Glenn is still there. I don't even know why. But they do have Klubnik, I guess, is their number 2 QB now. So I guess they will bring him out there and see what they have with him. And then Brady Cook is still young. And Zappy is whatever. He's been in the league for a while. But maybe the Jets will kind of roll out some offensive scheming to try to figure out, like, see what they have with these two guys. And they'll let them cook. Pun intended, maybe. And I don't think Geno Smith will get into the game a little bit. I don't really know. I don't have a good feel for this game at all, though. The money seems to be back in the under, and we have 76% of tickets, 75% of the cash on Pittsburgh. So the money is indicating on the Jets. Pittsburgh is favored. The Jets are favored. Pittsburgh is a public side. I think the public is just looking at this. Why would the public ever play the Jets? You know what I mean? They're looking at this and thinking, how am I getting Pittsburgh as an underdog, basically? But this is preseason, man. Some teams will be the better. Like, a lot of the better teams just won't be motivated. I don't know if I really want to come in and try to play the Jets here. I mean, to me, this game almost seems like more of an over to me, and the total is a little bit higher, although the money's coming in on the under. The total's at 39.5. And usually you see these preseason games, or no, it actually dropped. Sorry, it did drop to 37.5 after it opened 39.5. I don't know. I don't do much with totals here, but to me, it seems like these offenses might actually want to see what they have with these quarterbacks, so they might actually be trying to score here. I don't know, man. It's tough to gauge. These preseason games tend to all have low totals, and then you have to kind of figure out which offenses are going to go vanilla and which won't. And I was definitely wrong about the San Fran and Chargers game. So do with that info what you want, I guess. But I'm trying to think. I think I was going to say, yeah, one thing that I did get wrong is Ryans, the coach for Houston. He does actually try to win preseason games. So I did have that a little bit misgauged, although Vegas still won. ESPN Unlimited has Carolina and Jacksonville, the battle of the cats. I think these were the two expansion teams that came out at the same time when I was a kid, if I remember that correctly. Jacksonville won their first preseason game against the Saints, which I actually thought, I kind of liked the Saints in that one. And Carolina's already played twice because they played the Hall of Fame game, beating the Cardinals, and then they lost to the Bills in their last preseason game. I don't put much weight into any of that, but I look at, like, what are the rotations going to be here. Both of these teams don't have new coaches here, I don't believe, so they're not going to be doing anything that crazy, I don't think. Haynes King is questionable for Carolina. Bryce Young, I don't know if he's going to get out there at all. Kenny Pickett, probably you'll see a decent amount of action here, although I don't think he's that good, but he is experienced. But they probably keep it a bit vanilla for him. Haynes King, they will not keep it vanilla for him. They like to see what he has because he's a dual threat quarterback. And he's injured right now. He's questionable. So I think a lot of this hinges on how much is King going to play in this game, if at all. Because I think the more he plays in this game, the more offense you're going to get out of Carolina because they're going to unleash him again probably and see what he has. And then they have Trask. I don't really know much about him. But I think it comes down to how much is Haynes King going to play. And that will, if he's going to play more, it's going to make me like Carolina a little bit more and like the over a little bit more. And as far as Jacksonville, I mean, we know Trevor Lawrence is their guy. I don't expect him to be in this game for much, if at all. But they have kind of a boring quarterback rotation. I'm sorry, but Nick Mullins, I mean, he's been in the league for a while. I don't think they really have much to see with him here. I don't know who Bradley and Aguilar really are. I mean, maybe Aguilar. Maybe they want to try to showcase them a little bit and see what they have with them. I have no idea, but I don't know. I mean, to me, this seems like it's Carolina is the side in this one, but again, it's preseason. It's really hard to figure it out. 79% of tickets, 69% of the cash on the Jags. Carolina's the favorite. It seems like nobody wants Carolina. Everybody's high on Jacksonville, man, because they were they had that unexpectedly good year last year. Although I said I thought Jacksonville was the play to make as far as winning that division last year, and they did. And I kind of think they take a little bit of a step back this year, to be honest, because I think they overperformed a little bit too much. Although I'm not really high on Carolina this year. I think Carolina overperformed last year too, though. But in this game, the public likes Jacksonville here. They were a 2.5-point favorite, and now Carolina's a 1.5-point favorite. But yeah, I would lean Carolina if you're going to play that one. And then Green Bay and Denver. Green Bay got smoked in their first game, and a lot of times in the even though it's preseason, teams that do that badly, which I forgot to mention that when handicapping the other games that we talked about, the ones that we talked about yesterday, which Houston fell into this category. A lot of times when teams do bad in their first preseason game, they do a lot better in their next preseason game after that because they still, you're embarrassed. You know what I mean? When you go out there and you don't have a good game, even if it's a game it's a little bit meaningless. So maybe Green Bay will have a better go of it here, but Denver, Sean Payton, he tries to win, man. I thought the Falcons had a better setup in that game with the quarterback rotation. No, the Falcons were terrible in that game. Tua was awful. Penix is I think Penix is going to wind up being the starter for the Falcons at some point, not in the not too distant future, but I don't know. I mean, he was last year too. Tua, I don't know if Tua was ever even actually good, to be honest. But Sean Payton, what we know about him is he tries to win in the preseason. I believe he's on some sort of win streak again in the preseason. So he's going to try to win this game. But I think Green Bay might try to win it as well because they had an ugly loss to the Steelers. So this game, possibly an over, but the total is the highest on the board at 40.5 or 39.5. But the odds makers are telling you something. And the money is strongly indicating on the over in this one. And I think that might be the right way to do it, but it's already gone up through the key number of 41 to 41.5. So if you want the over, you've already missed the boat on it. Like, I would have done it at, if you were going to do it, I would have tried to do it below 41 when it was still 39, 40, because in football, 41's a key number. But the odds makers and the professionals all seem to think this will be a higher scoring game. And maybe that will be the case. These offenses might show up with a little bit more, doing a little bit more after those, because Sean Payton just wants to win. But Green Bay, after they were a bit embarrassed in their first game, although Green Bay doesn't really have much to showcase, though. Maybe with Kyle McCord, but you're going to see a lot of Tyrod Taylor probably. But he is a dual-threat quarterback, and defense is going to be a little bit thrown off by the dual threat, although Denver does have a good defense, obviously. But I don't know how many defensive starters are really going to play that much in this game. And Denver, they don't really have much to showcase either, so that does worry me a little. They have Stidham and Ehlinger, however you pronounce his name, whatever. But they're both experienced quarterbacks, and I think Stidham is a little bit underrated. Denver is getting the money, 64% of tickets, 72% of the cash on them. They're up to a 6-point favorite. I don't really agree with that. I think in preseason, laying an amount of points like that is just ridiculous because the total's always still on the lower side, and getting points is just always, there's more value there. So I don't know. Taking the points makes a little more sense, although I think the over makes the most sense in that game still. And that's it, man. Finally, the end of the show. Way too long of a show today. Dirty sock. Yes, Geno Smith went to West Virginia. I don't know. Why wouldn't he hang around? He was a starter last year for the Raiders. Did not have a good season, but the Raiders system is also complete shit. Smith was a capable-ish quarterback when he was in the Seahawks system. I don't think he's actually good, but he's good enough to start on various NFL teams. And he's on a team that has nobody better, right? He's on the Jets, right? They don't have anybody better. So unless one of their newcomers rises to the occasion. Brady Cook didn't look good when he got into those NFL games, though. Maybe Klubnik has something, but I don't know. Klubnik did not have a good season with Clemson last year either, so I don't really know. The Jets are ass. They're just such a bad organization. They never have, even when they do have talent, they don't use it appropriately, and they seem to never really have a good quarterback, or when they do, like Aaron Rodgers, he gets injured immediately. So I don't know. That's going to do it. My two plays today are under 7.5 in Angels, Rangers. We're going all baseball again as usual. Cubs, money line. Those are my 2 plays today. Let's have another winning day here, man. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here, and you'll get notified when I go live. When does college football actually start? Because I got to do the college football preview before that. Let me see. College football first game is, I'm looking at this. They always have the stupid week 0 thing with the Ireland game and whatever the heck. I'm looking at week 1 here. Oh, they're calling it week 1 now. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. It looks like it's Saturday the 29th. Yeah, because I see the Ireland game where Bill Belichick is going to have to go out there for that one in a possible revenge game against TCU. I don't know. I'll talk about those games then. But I got to do the NFL, the college football preview. And then I'll do another NFL preview probably. But subscribe and you'll get notified when I go live. We're also on audio, Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. Numbers going up a little bit there, so I am happy about that at least. But they need to be way better. People don't want to listen to me rambling, man. But I think the information's good on the show. Obviously, it's translating into wins here, and that's been the case since I've started the show, although I haven't tracked the number on a banner like that until recently. Although, if you follow me on Action Network or whatever, all the picks that I give it on the show, throughout the entire history of the show are all on there. So, and it goes, I think, earlier than that too. Actually, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to say that without knowing for sure, but at least most of the picks I've given on the show. I forget which one I did first. Did I start Action Network first or this show first? I actually forget. Anyway, Covered in Uke on YouTube, my Uke channel. You can check that out. I've done a couple of Weezer covers for the new album that was released today, which I actually do like. They've been a real mixed bag, but they're one of my favorite bands, and I will be seeing them in September. What else? Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to support me that way. Losercast every Tuesday night. New York Giants G-Spot podcast. No idea if it's happening or not, but we'll see. That's going to do it. Thanks, everybody. Let's have a good Friday. Let's start the weekend right. Peace.
If the dark starts talking, hand me the phone. Let somebody answer, let somebody know. You do not have to lose this round alone. Hold on, not tonight, not now. You're still here now.